Welcome back to He's a Giant, a pod about the New York Football Giants. I'm your host, Sal, with my co-host, Monty. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Not only a Giants podcast, but a Samoan Polynesian enthusiast podcast. And I think you need to get into that, Sal.
Yeah. Should I wait for more people to come before I get into my heartfelt feelings and discussion?
Maybe.
All right. I'll give it a little bit of time. I'll give it until we have some more people and some comments. And anyway, I'm going to have a special moment with our audience. Wait, hold on 1 second. I know what's happening here. Hold on. Give me 1 second to fix my microphone. Does that sound better?
Sounds fine.
Okay, good. All right. My microphone was not properly attached. All right. So not a whole lot of stuff going on in Giants world right now. We got a little news on Malik Nabers. We got some leaks on the schedule, which I think will be coming out tomorrow.
I believe so,
if I'm not mistaken. Let me see who's in here now. For those who are joining, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But I wanted to have a tender moment with our audience.
Try telling us, Sal.
Apparently, some of my crass humor, I am a person of crass humor, was taken perhaps to heart and the wrong way by friends of ours in the Polynesian community. I am a big fan of Polynesian people, especially those who play football, especially with those who play with their... No, but I really, really like Polynesian players and people. I'm a big fan, big supporter. Love CC Mauinoa, future Hall of Famer, CC Mauinoa. And as Monty knows, I, unlike others, have been a tremendous supporter of the idea of 720 Polynesian pounds on our offensive line of guard with CC Mauinoa and Daniel Falele anchoring John Michael Schmitz. But for those who feel that my comments were insensitive, I understand, and you're right. I apologize.
Now say Dylan Raiola can play QB.
I can't do that. I can't do that. He can't play QB. You say Dylan Raiola can play QB.
Dylan Raiola can play QB.
He can't. Jordan Mailata can play QB. He can play QB. He's a good QB. Even Nico Iamalevan, he's a pretty good QB. I like him.
Dylan Raiola clears both of them. You'll see. You'll see.
You only like Dylan Raiola because you think he's hit peak QB form.
He has hit peak QB form, unlike our quarterback Jackson Dart, who's getting too ripped for my comfort.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So anyway, my apologies to our friends in the Polynesian community. I love you guys. I'm a huge fan of Pacific weather and and all the stuff that goes on over there. I'd love to go to Hawaii someday. I haven't been there yet. Have you been to Hawaii?
Mm-mm.
We should go on we'll go on an apology tour. He's a Giant apology tour to Hawaii, and we'll go enjoy the islands. But I'm a big fan, and I cannot wait till our friend Francis Mauinoa is holding up the Lombardi Trophy later this year in February 2027, actually. So my apologies. I love you guys. All right. Let's talk about what's going on in Giants land. Not a ton of news coming out, Monty, but last time we talked, I think we had just gotten DJ Reader, right?
Yep.
No real acquisitions till then, but we heard today, Dan Duggan dropped a tweet that Malik Nabers had a second surgery a few weeks back, he said.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it was an arthroscopic surgery, meaning it was not a full open surgery where they cut open his knee like they did to repair his knee after the ACL repair. This is sort of what they call a cleanup surgery, when they go in and remove scar tissue after the surgery, which is somewhat normal after a big surgery like he had. Duggan went on to remark that it was done to remove some, I think he put scar tissue or debris, but that it was not expected to impact Malik Nabers' timeline of return, which the Giants remain hopeful is by week 1. So that's the news coming out. A lot of people are freaking out over it. Some people feel, really upset, especially some people that we know that live in Texas, have 3 dogs. Very upset by the news, feel like they've been lied to. So let's talk about that. What is your initial reaction to that? And I guess we can get into a little bit more of the discussion of the surgery. what's going on with him?
I mean, obviously it's not like woo, like not positive. Like, obviously I'm hoping that when he gets surgery that it's as good as possible. No other follow-ups are needed. We're clean. We're back on the fastest timeline. But I don't know. I mean, we've seen it before. I don't necessarily think that that it's going to be that big of a deal in the long run. I do think it could probably. I think there's a chance that it could delay him a little bit, at least delay him from the optimistic timelines. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Is it's probably hard to see him hit some of the more optimistic timelines that people are hoping for, like getting back for training camp and whatnot. Certainly puts week 1 into question, I would say.
Right. So, I'm not an orthopedist, certainly not his orthopedist. His surgeon was Daniel Cameron, who's actually the Cowboys team doctor, which was, I thought, an interesting choice. He's a world-renowned surgeon. Giants have a world-renowned, surgeon as their team doctor, who's also a specialist in complex knee repair. So I was kind of surprised that he went down to the Cowboys team doctor. Nevertheless, I mean, these guys do choose their own surgeons. Looking into this procedure, Monty, so there are a couple of things that I think are worth pointing out. Not all ACL injuries and surgeries are the same. For example, Wan'Dale Robinson had just a pure ACL tear, no other ligament damage, had a simple ACL repair. And as you saw, he bounced back pretty quickly and was pretty much himself, right after he came back.
Mm-hmm.
There are also more severe forms. Aaron Robinson, the same year, if you recall, tore his entire knee. Like, he tore several ligaments in his knee.
Pulled
And
pork.
he hasn't played football since, right? I don't believe. I think he retired, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or I don't think he retired, but he's just not playing. And that was it for his career. Malik Nabers kind of had something in between. So he didn't have a simple ACL injury. He didn't have, to my understanding, an injury to the degree that Aaron Robinson did, but he did have a meniscal tear in addition to the ACL. And so it was a little bit more of a complex knee replacement. It's my understanding that leads to a little bit more scar tissue buildup, especially when you're working really hard as a professional athlete to rehab it and get yourself strong again. So it's not unusual to get some scar tissue. Other players have had it done and they remove it. And typically that improves your range of motion. The reason you do it is to take away stiffness and loss of range of motion and to get that knee free. I think the arthroscopic cleanup procedure by itself probably doesn't, bother me too much in terms of his overall timeline. I think if there was anything of concern, it was the fact that he already had a complex knee injury. And I think it was always kind of ambitious to think he'd be ready for training camp. You and I talked about this. I don't think it would be crazy to see a world where Malik basically misses all of training camp and most of the preseason. And then kind of like Andrew Thomas last year, where towards the end of preseason, you see him coming back on the field and practicing with his teammates. And then he kind of goes day to day. Like, they don't put him on IR to start the season, but they make him week to week. And they might decide to hold him out a couple of weeks just to make sure that he's fully ready to go. And then they start him. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that played out, just to be on the cautious side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know. With that said, I don't know if you have much more to put on the Nabers thing, but I guess, to kind of like a transition to that is, with that said, is, we did get week 1 announced, and where that now is going to be in question if Malik Nabers is there. What is your thoughts about the Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys at home on Sunday Night Football?
I'm perfectly fine with it. I mean, I don't think it should surprise anybody. The NFL loves, we're going back like 15, 16 years. The NFL loves having the Giants and the Cowboys face off against each other. Week 1, they love the matchup. It's a ratings boom. And anytime the Giants are acceptably good, they try to push this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, not surprised by it. I'm glad it's at home and not on the road, to be honest, to start the season.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, test. John Harbaugh is probably thrilled about it, to be honest. I think he likes having a big test. Here's where I think, some people are concerned when they say we're optimistic about this year, but do we need to face these guys right away? Especially if Nabers is not healthy. Here's what I would say to that. I've made this argument about this team under John Harbaugh before. The NFC East is used to seeing the Giants a very specific way. a physically unimposing, soft, weak bitch team. Let's be honest, right? For the last several years, always getting bullied at the line of scrimmage. A bunch of tiny receivers, quarterbacks who are freaking the fuck out with any pressure. Defensive line getting bullied. Like, they were used to that kind of Giants team. They've been used to that kind of Giants team for years. If there's any division, well, any group of teams that are going to maybe struggle with the new look Giants, it'll be the teams that have been game planning for the same old Giants for years. And this is just a complete 180 of a team now since John Harbaugh got here. I mean, they've turned over the roster to the degree where now you heard people talk about, rookie camp. There are large human beings walking around in that facility now. This is a big team, a bunch of bullies, as John Harbaugh said to Pat Ricard, right? We're building a bully up here. And I think the Cowboys are going to be in for a shock in terms of the type of players who are wearing the Giants jersey that they have to go up against. They're used to facing kind of like that soft ass team they can bully. I think they're going to find themselves probably on the other end of that bullying quite a bit in that game, physically at least, right? And I think it's a good time to catch them. Let's see if the NFC is going to adapt to us.
So, we have plenty of time to talk about this, but early thoughts path to victory for beating the Cowboys week 1.
Run the damn ball.
That's where I'm at too. I mean, we know the Cowboys can light up the scoreboard. I mean, TD Lamb, George Pickens, Dak Prescott, that offensive line, they can light up a scoreboard. So control the clock, out physical them. And, the one thing is beat them in a way that the Giants have been beat year after year and be more prepared going into week 1. That has never been us. That's not how Brian Daboll set up this team. We're unprepared, running a country club type training camp every year. That's one thing I don't think will be a problem under Harbaugh. Maybe like injuries will be a problem because he's not taking it easy, and you could argue that side of it. But I have no doubt they'll be prepared, and maybe the Cowboys won't be as prepared.
No, I have no doubt anymore that we'll be as prepared as possible for every game, especially week 1. But I agree with you, like forget about whether or not Malik Nabers is on the field. Even if he's on the field 100%, run the ball. Use the power of Patrick Ricard and Francis Mauinoa and the line you've assembled to start establishing your identity as a running team. And obviously Cam Scattergood was going to be a big part of that. Run the ball, control the line of scrimmage, establish that you can control the line of scrimmage on the clock, wear them down, and then let Jackson Dart beat them. Right? Soften them up and let Jackson Dart do what Jackson Dart does, which is be a playmaker and beat them. And that to me, it's that simple. I don't want to be in a shootout like last year even though that was Russell Wilson's one great game as a Giant. It was fun to watch, but you don't win a lot of shootouts against the Cowboys. That's the reality, because they can always match your firepower, right? I don't care who you are. They can match your firepower. No matter how shitty their defense is, they can put up points. So you don't want to constantly keep handing the ball right back to Dak Prescott and say, Gary, you score too, because he's going to score.
We don't have the secondary to go, to match up with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb for a whole game.
Not that we know of yet, right? We'll see what Denard Wilson cooks up with, Colton Hood and Paulson Adebo and these guys, but we have to see it, right? But one thing I do know is we have the bodies physically at the line of scrimmage to start playing a little bit of bully ball. Play it. Let's see if they can stop us, right? I think take the punch to them.
Yeah. And then, breaking news, we'll make sure that John Harbaugh is not just trying to smoke out the leaks and using our friend Chris Rossetti. So hopefully, he doesn't get fired over this, but our friend Chris Rossetti says, breaking news, we're making the trek down to SoFi for week 2, Monday Night Football. So heard here first by Chris Rossetti, Giants, Rams in LA, Monday Night Football, week 2. Yep. And then he followed up, Tennessee week 3, Arizona week 4, only allowed to share the first month. So just remember, Chris, if that happens, Chris Rossetti broke it here first, and he's a Giant.
We appreciate Chris Rossetti constantly being willing to put his career on the line to give us breaking news here on He's a Giant. So everybody thank Chris Rossetti. Yeah, dude, going to SoFi to play the Rams, I like it. I don't mind.
That'd be sick.
It's kind of similar to the 2023 schedule, right? I don't want to say it's going to be like that season, but didn't we have like a week 2? Well, no, actually, no. Week 2 was Arizona. that year. Week 1 was home against the Cowboys. Week 2 was on the road against Arizona. I think week 3 was the Thursday night game against the 49ers after that. But no, I mean, look, Sunday night, home, Monday night, a week plus later, away for the Rams. Great matchup. So, I mean, it's a tough way to start the season. 2 tough teams, a division rival, but you come away with a win or 2 wins in those games, I mean, your whole season's off and running, right? So it's a great test for this team.
So, but I mean, whether it's week 2 or not, I trust Chris Rossetti for now on this one. How, just early thoughts. How do you feel about a game versus the Rams? We're playing them or what? So,
gotta play them at some point. You know how I feel about this. I don't care about the schedule. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the NFL, there's a ton of parity. A properly coached team, a reasonable roster, there's not a huge gap between, some of the worst teams and some of the best teams. They're all pros. It's the little things that determine who wins and who loses in these games, right? It's who's coached a little bit better, who's more prepared, whose team doesn't make the mistakes of committing, terrible penalties, whose playmakers make plays. Like, it's little things that add up to victories in these games. And I'm not bothered by who's on our schedule or when we play them. I'm far more enthusiastic about the fact that we have John Harbaugh coaching this team now. And I can take on whoever comes our way, honestly. If you lose a game or two, I'm also not devastated. I don't see John Harbaugh suddenly losing a locker room or losing his team ability to prepare. If they go 0-2, worst case scenario, I don't think they're going to fall apart like they've done in years past. They'll be right back up, off the mat and ready to go. So I'm not bothered by any of this. I think this is a team that's going to go out there and be ready to compete and probably will walk away with wins that people don't expect them to walk away with. And probably a lot of them.
Yeah, that'd be a big one because to me, on paper, I think the Rams might be the best team in football.
They've probably been the best team in football on paper for the last few years.
And then they added even more.
Yeah, I have to see what happens with Puka. I don't know what's going on with his whole thing.
We got Trent McDuffie now.
Right. They didn't add a receiver, if I'm not mistaken, or they didn't really add any. They added they added a tight end somewhere along the way in the draft, but I don't believe they added anybody and who's like a target to replace Puka in case he can't go. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this team. But even without that, that's a Super Bowl contender. I think the Seahawks likely will take a little minor step back this year. They just lost people and they haven't had a chance to replace them. And it's tough to repeat what they did last year. The Rams, I think, are the class of the NFL, most likely, and they're probably going to be the odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl, I imagine. It's either them or the Patriots, the Eagles, one of those teams. So it's a good test.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. They wasted their first round pick on a quarterback.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
We'll get to that. Lemon.
We're going to talk about that tonight.
Yep. Yeah, that's one we got to talk about.
All right. And so the schedule week is tomorrow. Malik's injury stuff is going on. There was discussion today, Spaces. Should the Giants, in light of the Malik Nabers news, chase Stefan Diggs or Keenan Allen? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'd probably stay away from Stefan Diggs. I don't think Keenan Allen's leaving the West Coast. I think that's the reality with him. I probably would stay away from Stefan Diggs, though. I mean, if Keenan Allen wants to come here, sure, but. What about you?
I'm hearing another rumor, by the way.
What's that?
That it's not the Rams week 2, that it's the Texans week 2. That's even worse.
Source off.
All right. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with signing either of those guys. I honestly am, because I don't have a problem with signing guys who can help your quarterback. I guess I don't know how much impact they'll have. Unless you think Malik Nabers is going to be fried for a lot of the season, then it's a different discussion. If you think he's going to be back relatively quickly within the first 2 weeks, I'm not so sure how much those guys make a huge difference in how you're planning on operating your team, because I think they're planning on running the ball a lot anyway.
I just don't see Stefan Diggs fitting in with what John Harbaugh is trying to set culture-wise. I know John Harbaugh can handle a personality like him. I mean, that's the advantage of having a guy like John Harbaugh, but it's messy with him right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. He's getting yelled at by Cardi B in Maryland right
Yeah.
now. He's got his own stuff going on. We'll see what happens. I don't think they're getting either of those guys personally. I mean, you never know. They get guys out of nowhere sometimes, but I just don't feel like that's likely to happen. I think they could add a receiver, but I think somebody put in the chat, they might get a guy like Josh Palmer if he's cut. I think those kinds of guys are more likely, right? They'll see who shakes loose a veteran who might be useful. But I don't know if they're going to go break the bank right now on like some wide receiver 2 type in free agency. Wouldn't hate it, but I just don't think they'll do it. I think they're going to run the ball. If anything, I think they'll add to the running back room. I suspect that might happen, right? To get another person in here who could be a hammer, to work behind a, power football type of approach on the line. I think that's something we might see more of. So I just think they're going to really try to commit to the run this year and establish the run. It just pound the rock, and then use all of the different receivers and receiving targets that we talked about, last week. It's not just Nabers. It's not just Malachi Fields, who they just traded up for. It's guys like Darnell Mooney, who you want to talk about. It's guys like Calvin Austin. It's guys like Isaiah Likely. There's a bunch of guys that they brought in who I think can help this team. So I think that's more likely that they're going to spread the ball around and just run the rock a lot.
Yeah, I think they can get by with the guys they have, and the expectation is Malik Nabers will be back, and that's what's going to make your wide receiver core once you get them.
I'll say this too. We said this after the draft. The most important thing you did to help Jackson Dart was solidify your offensive line.
Yep.
Wide receivers and weapons, they can raise the ceiling of your quarterback. I believe that. But what raises his floor is going to be the offensive line. If you protect Dart and you believe in his ability to make plays, which I don't know why you wouldn't at this point. You saw him do it all last year against great competition. The line is, I think, definitively better than it was last year by adding Francis Mauinoa, bringing back Jermaine, having AT back for a full season, hopefully, knock on wood. And we'll see what happens at left guard and center. But you're protecting Jackson Dart. I think that's the most important thing you can do here, more than any weapon you can add. I think you let him make plays.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think that good quarterbacks can raise the talent around them, specifically at the wide receiver position. And yeah, like I said, if the O-line gives Jackson Dart time, he has his own ability to create, and you can only guard these wide receivers for so long.
Exactly. All right. That's Giants talk. There's not much else going on there. You want to get into what we're going over today?
Yeah. So, Sal and I didn't really have too much of a Giants topic for today because there's not much going on. So we thought we would do some overall draft talk because we really haven't done that. We usually do that every year, is kind of just talk about some of our favorite picks, some of our least favorite picks, and some of our favorite fits along the way. So I don't know. Want to just kind of go? We're gonna go off the cuff here. We want to just go round by round on this.
Yeah. Let's fly through the round. Let's start with round one, the obvious one. Fernando Mendoza was going to go to the Raiders. I don't think we have to discuss it too much. It's a good pick. They need a quarterback. He was QB1. To me, the draft took a strange turn right away with pick 2, David Bailey to the Jets. And I understand the thought process. I did not like this pick. I don't know how you feel about it, just based on my review of the prospects and how we graded them out and where the Jets are in their rebuilding. I thought that Aral Reese was the proper pick for them. Glad they didn't take him, but I thought this was a mistake. I think Bailey's a good player, but I would not have taken him here. How about you?
No, I agree. I think David Bailey's a very good player. I think David Bailey is going top 10 to 15 in just about any draft class. But number 2, I didn't see him as a blue chip prospect personally. I don't like him here. I would have gone. I would have gone Reese over him. I would have gone Styles over him. I would have gone Caleb Downs over him. Like I don't see David Bailey as a top 3 player. I think he's going to be a good football player in the NFL. I think he's going to bring a lot of pass rush production. But I don't think he's going to be an elite pass rusher, and I think he's going to struggle as a run defender.
Yeah, I think he's a good player, right? I just don't think I would have taken him with some of the other guys on the board, like you said. And again, where the Jets are as a team, they're really kind of rebuilding. Now, to be fair to Bailey, top ranked edge rusher by PFF grades, top graded PFF edge rusher in the country last year. It's not like he was a schlep.
In
right?
2 years in a row, he's produced extremely well.
81 pressures in 14 games. It's a huge number. 15 sacks. So I'm giving him his due here. Like he was tremendous.
At some point, you just gotta, he's gotta trust the numbers and respect the profile that he's put out there.
And the production. He's a very productive player. So
production, yes.
I think I get it, but I wasn't thrilled. I'll put it that way. I think Reese was the better pick. Jeremiah Love. I don't know what to say about this. Like I think I predicted that he would go to Arizona like a couple of months before the draft to you. I was like, oh, Arizona's going to take Love if he's there, because that's just the kind of shit Arizona does. They want to sell tickets. They want to sell jerseys. Take that away from it. What do you think about just with who's on the board and where they are as an organization? Love going 3.
I said it to you when you were predicting this, is like it's a very Atlanta Falcons like strategy with them going Drake London, them going Bijan Robinson, them going Kyle Pitts. Obviously, they didn't
assemble everything around the quarterback.
Yeah, obviously, Trey McBride was a second round pick, and he's much better than Kyle Pitts. But the same idea. They're putting all the pieces around to get the quarterback. I mean, I don't love it. It's probably, I think, one of the poorer places for Jeremiah to love to land out of this top 10. And I believe that running backs are so dependent on the situation around them. Luckily they came back in the second round. We can talk about that when we get to it with Santos, and that will help pave a way for a guy like this. But yeah, no, I mean, look, he already has the biggest contract in the NFL total wise at the running back position. It's not great value from that standpoint. And I wouldn't have gone here. I think it was I don't think it's good team building.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm not a huge Jeremiah Love fan, but that aside.
Right. And they, to be fair, like I thought they needed a right tackle very badly, like very badly. I think if you want to build, if the idea is build around your future quarterback, the best thing you can do is, again, build the offensive line. You really, they did take Chase Basantis second round, good pick, but they paid Isaac Ciamolo, who's I think he would have been good for us, but he's an older player, and now you don't have a quarterback to for him to protect, unless you think Carson Beck is that guy, and you took Basantis is a good player, but you don't have a right tackle. You have Wilkinson. I mean, personally, if I were them, I would have tried to trade the pick, and if not, I would have felt comfortable in this particular class. Either taking the best player, which at this point would have been Reese on the board, or taking my tackle here. I would have taken Mauinoa or Spencer Fano. Here, I think that was probably the better pick for value and impact. But I get it. They want to have offensive playmakers, so they went with it. Don't love it though. Don't want to spend too much time, but that's just how I felt.
Yeah, I loved it. I did love it. Just for the Giants though. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Pick 4. The Carnell Tate pick to the Titans. Now, this one is a little bit more nuanced. How do you feel about it, though?
I mean, it kind of caught me off guard. I don't think Carnell Tate is a wide receiver worthy of going top 5, but it is a weaker draft class. At the end of the day, I respect trying to surround your young quarterback with talent. They really don't have they had they got Wandale Robinson, but they really needed a wide receiver 1. So I respect the move. I don't necessarily think it's a good one, but I respect it.
Yeah, I agree. I get it. I understand. Look, I've said it. They invested a ton on defense in free agency, like a ton on defense. And the only thing they did to help Cam Ward on offense was Wandale Robinson. They gave him a huge deal. And obviously Daniel Bellinger, they got a pretty big deal from them too, which is kind of strange. But I think they needed to add a playmaker for him. If Jeremiah Love was there, I think he would have been a more logical pick for them. But then again, Brian Dable is the OC, and he doesn't know how to run the ball. So,
I mean, his first year at Saquon, they ran the shit out of the ball.
He had Saquon and Daniel Jones, though. Like, I think they did a lot of the running. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think Tate is fine. I think if you thought he was the best offensive playmaker there, and your goal was get offensive playmaker for Cam Ward, totally get it. So I don't hate the pick. Actually, I don't feel like I do about the Jets pick or even the Cardinals pick here. I actually think This one has some logic behind it for what they're trying to do.
I agree. Yeah, I don't hate the pick at all.
And that took, I mean, we'll talk about Aral Reese. We both, I mean, got probably the best player in the draft.
Just fabulous. It was a very, very Ravens-like thing with just having the best player in the draft just fall straight into your lap.
Sit back, great player falls, so you take him. That's it. And that's what they did.
So yeah, I mean, what do we think of here? Do you want to round out the top 10 and then jump around, or do you want to just you want to start jumping around?
No, we can jump around here. I mean, I don't want to go through every single pick. It'll take us all night.
So
I mean, let's go through this. I mean, Delane is a good pick. Styles is a good pick. Tyson's a good pick. Fano makes sense. Francis makes sense for us. Downs obviously was a great pick.
Let's pause there for a second, because as far as picking the best picks in the draft, this is where I start to find some of the best and the worst picks in this run here. Personally,
three straight very interesting picks.
Yeah, I think I honestly think the next 5 picks, starting at Caleb Downs, I could argue 3 of them are the best picks in this round, and 2 of them are the worst. So I start here with Caleb Downs, is a guy who arguably was the best player in this draft, and a guy who I really was hoping would be a Giant. I am fine with him not being a Giant with the players we got, but man, I was excited to get him on our team, and I don't love having to face him. He's a green dot player. He's going to be a guy who can kind of do everything for you. Unfortunately, the Cowboys moved up 1 pick, and the NFC East had a very good draft, both between Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and we'll get to the Eagles pick. But anything out of that?
No, that's it.
But the team that traded out of that pick, I thought, is interesting. So the Miami Dolphins take Caden Proctor at 12 after trading with the Dallas Cowboys for 2 5th-round picks.
After trying to trade up with the Giants to get to 10.
Yep, which people they're trying to say that it was Proctor all along. I don't necessarily buy it, because I don't know why you would trade back after trying to trade up. I understand maybe you're not worried about the Cowboys. That's the argument. But to me, it's pretty clear they wanted Mauinoa. They didn't get him, so they moved back and got Proctor. I was not a Proctor fan, and I liked it even less moving out of Downs.
Well, let's stop there for a second. This felt very much like a late Jerry Reese pick, where they were locked in on one guy, almost telegraphed that one guy, which was Mauinoa, didn't get him, and then decided they have to fill the position.
Yeah.
And just kind of panicked and said, well, we're going to have to fill it, and we got to take this guy, and let's just trade back a pick and get some assets while we do it, And then they quickly announced that Proctor is going to be a guard, which, I mean, I joked around with you guys about it. I was actually surprised they're going to that move right away. I'm like, you're taking him here. You're taking him here to be a guard, like you don't even have a tackle. So like, what are you doing here? So I thought that was a curious pick. Time will tell if it's right, but it doesn't feel like a good pick right now.
No, we'll see. Maybe it will be, but yeah, I was not a fan of that pick at all.
But that was not the worst pick. That was not even the worst Alabama pick of the first round. That came next, in my opinion. And maybe we'll look foolish saying this in a few years if the guy ends up being like the goods. But the Super Bowl favorites, Los Angeles Rams, in our mind, and a lot of people's mind, with who had 2 picks in the first round. One they traded for Trent McDuffie, great use of a late first round pick. That was their own. They got this pick from the Falcons, who freaked out and traded their first for this year from last year's draft to move up a little bit from the second round to the end of the first round to get James Pierce. That was a great deal for, and they're sitting pretty. They got a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Tons of good players on the board, man. Tons of impact players here. And they take Ty Simpson. This to me was just, I have to be honest, on paper, I think this has the potential to be the worst pick of the entire draft.
Yeah, man. It would be different if we came out of this, you heard about how much Sean McVay loved this kid. He thinks he's going to be the next guy. Like, they're hyped about this pick. They're like, it's rated him so highly as a quarterback. But the first thing you see is Sean McVay looking pissed off and hearing that he never even met with him before the draft, and they've played some damage control since then. But that's what makes it the worst pick, is that you picked a guy that seemingly your coach was not totally in on, who's a fantastic offensive mind. And then, the other side of this is just you're in a Super Bowl window, man. Like, there is picks to be made here. I think the two guys that stand out to me here, you could have gone Mekhi Lemon with some of the Puka issues going on,
that was the pick.
I'll say another one. Kenyon Sadiq, who they went tight end in the second round. They run so much 12-man personnel. They would have got arguably the greatest athlete that we've ever seen come out at, like, testing wise at the tight end position. Imagine what they could have done with that kid.
I mean, they did take Max Clear in the second round, so I think maybe they were high on him and they felt they were getting good value there. But the pick here all day was Mekhi Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to win a Super Bowl. What position has the potential to be as impactful right away as wide receiver? Almost none.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Puka in rehab. Devontae Adams getting older. Jordan Whittington is your starting slot receiver right now. Just imagine for a second they had just taken a step back and said, we got Matt Stafford for at least another year. Let's get Mekhi Lemon in here. And what we're going to war with is freaking Mekhi Lemon, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams. That's ridiculous. How do you even cover that if you're a defense, right?
Yeah.
Like it's hell on everybody they face with Matt Stafford. I mean, it's almost like you can just almost see like he's the guy who's making play after play and a big play in the playoffs, right? Like he's just getting open because teams can't cover everybody. To me, Mekhi Lemon was such a slam dunk pick. And he was in their backyard. He's an LA kid, right? He's in USC. I was shocked. Like, I was floored shocked that they did not take Mekhi Lemon here. Really, I was.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I think that was the worst pick of the first round. I don't have too much to add on it. The interesting thing, though, again, I said this 5-pick stretch, the next 2 picks was 2 guys that we rated as blue chippers back to back here. At 14 and 15, great value. We mocked them here. Ione goes to Awani goes to the Baltimore Ravens at 14. Great pick. They still don't have a center, but it was still a great pick. He's going to be an instant starter. Such a Ravens pick here. And Ruben Bain goes 15, was our highest rated player in the draft. People overthought his arm length. I would be shocked if he is not a great football player in the NFL. He has the right mentality. He has all the talent in the world. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lucked out here in a not that strong of a draft class to get a guy like that at 15.
Yeah, that's freaking phenomenal value there. Would not shock me as much as I want it to be Aral Reese. Wouldn't shock me at all if Ruben Bain ends up being defensive rookie of the year. He's going to start right away at the edge. He's a problem, dude. I don't care about this stupid arm length stuff. The dude is a problem. And he's going to plug in on a good team and have a chance to really wreak havoc. He's going to be playing with some leads out there too. It's going to be fun to watch him in Tampa. So phenomenal value. Uani, we talked about being an awesome guard, great fit for the Ravens. Just, good teams making good moves. I'm a little surprised by the Rams, but the other two here, I think they nailed it. Going through it, let's just take the next 4 or 5 picks on block. Blake Miller, good fit, I think, for the Lions. Really good value. We liked him.
Right. Good starter right away.
Yeah. Probably starting at right tackle, and I think it confirms they're probably moving.
I think that's who we mocked to him there too.
We did. I said he was a plug and play. It was either him or Yannickor. It was one of them. I can't remember which one, but it was.
I think I pushed for Miller.
Yeah, it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Caleb Banks is, boy, I mean, what an upside swing here. The guy could become freaking Dexter Lawrence like, but his tape doesn't really show that over the course of a few years. The injuries are a real problem to the Vikings. And I got to be honest, man, like I'll stop there for a second. The Vikings, what were they doing in this draft? I mean, did you see what they did?
Yeah.
Like they really had a bizarre draft. I mean, so Caleb Banks and Jake Galde for 1 and 2, the two big time freak athletes. And then they doubled up on D tackle with Dominique Orange, however you say it. Yeah, the Grand Orange.
The big sauce.
Yeah, and then Caleb turned in a tackle. This is a pick in the 3rd round. Jacoby Thomas, the safety for Miami in the 3rd round, which is a bit of an overreach, I thought. And then they get guys like Bredesen. Charles Deming's a good pick as a corner, but he's a 5th round pick. He was a small school guy for Stephen F. Austin. They did get Damon Claiborne, the running back from Wake Forest, who a lot of Giant fans wanted, and a 7th round safety, Gavin Gerhardt. But what they didn't do is lock down the cornerback position with an obvious starter, and they really badly needed that, right? When people thought they were going to swing early on safety or corner, here is their secondary right now. This is a team that's supposed to win. James Pierre is their starting left-sided cornerback. Josh Medalis is their starting strong safety, although they drafted Jacoby Thomas. Jay Ward is their starting free safety. Isaiah Rogers and Byron Murphy. That is their secondary, dude. For what Brian Flores likes to do. I mean, he doesn't need multiple D tackles. He needs corners who can hold up while he's blitzing the shit out of people. Very surprising strategy here they didn't have a GM really going into this, so I didn't love it. I'll just say that. I mean, I love the player and the process of the player, like in terms of what he could be, but for what they're trying to do, I'm not really sure what they're trying to do. I'll be honest. Yeah. Monroe Freeling, we didn't like him. We hated him. The Panthers took him. That one I also don't get.
At least he went closer to where we still had him lower, but he went closer where we ranked him compared to where they were having him go.
They're swinging on the upside here, but he's going to be starting right away though. Like they lost their left tackle late in the season, and the playoffs, right? They lost Ike Ekwonu. So this guy's going to be starting at left tackle for them. So good luck. Then here's probably one of the best, sadly, one of the best picks of the round.
NFC's killed it.
Yep. Makai Lemon, the freaking Cowboys. Jerry Jones calls Howie Roseman, says, "Hey, you want to come up and take Makai Lemon?" Why would you do that? This is the second time that was done. He did it with Devontae Smith too. Remember? So unbelievable. So they give the Eagles Makai Lemon
to replace AJ Brown.
Yeah. Now here's where it's a little. This is worth discussing. I would say. What the hell are the Eagles doing? Stylistically, what are they doing? What do you think? I mean, look who they added in this draft. They added Makai Lemon. They added your guy Eli Stowers.
Love that pick. Unfortunately,
they traded for Dontavian Wicks. They got rid of it. They're about to get rid of AJ Brown. So they get rid of Jeff Stoutland. They get rid of their previous OC. They bring in Mannion, who's a McVay guy. They bring in a McVay O-line coach. They bring in a bunch of guys who run routes over the middle. I mean, really, these are guys who work over the middle of the field, the majority of them. Stowers and Lemon and Wicks and these guys. And their franchise quarterback has been cited in reports as being someone who changes the play if it requires him to use the middle of the field. He doesn't feel comfortable using it. I'm not sure why, but it's kind of documented at this point that he loves living on the outside. He's one of the better boundary passers in the NFL. Has a great deep ball, really good throwing the boundary, really good using his legs, but you're basically creating an offense that he doesn't like to operate. What do you think is going on over there?
I don't know, man. Is it get ready to learn playing in the inside of the field, or we're going to find a quarterback who can, or are they going to use these guys a little bit differently than we think? I mean, I don't think Makai Lemon is stuck playing slot. I think that's where he's best, but I do think he can play outside a little bit. I think that Eli Stowers can be a little bit flex for you. And you're not going to obviously rely on those guys there, but I do think maybe they can do a little bit more of that than we're giving them credit for. And maybe they see, Lemon and Stowers as guys who can kind of bring a little bit of both of what AJ Brown brought to you as a guy who did a lot of slot stuff for you, but also a guy who was your big body. Maybe that's how they're looking at it. I don't know. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. Supposedly, we're seeing we're seeing them reshape and remake their offense, and it seems like they're going to be building more of a McVay style like offense. They're going to see much more over the middle stuff, but it's just fascinating. I guess they feel they're banking on Jalen Hurts being able to do it. Like, I don't know how else there is to like put this, but it's just something he hasn't done. So it's just interesting. I thought it was worth mentioning that you're probably going to see a stylistically very different Eagles team going forward. What we're used to seeing the last few years.
And we skipped Kenyon Sadiq. I thought that was a solid pick. I thought for the athlete he is and the upside he brought, I thought that was a solid pick.
Solid pick by the Jets. They just took probably the BPA at that point. I'm going to skip through some of these. I mean, a lot of these just are kind of intrinsically,
loved Max to the Steelers. Akeem Mesidor to the Chargers. Good. Malachi. What do you think about Malachi Lawrence to the Cowboys?
I like it a lot for the Cowboys because he's one of the better high side rushers in the class. And I think that's kind of what they needed.
Continue to build out what they lost with Parsons.
Right. I mean, they're doing it by committee, but I think that it's a good addition. He complements what they're getting from Rashawn Gary and from what's his face, Azaraku pretty well. So they're building a nice room. And of course, their interior is pretty stout now. So it made a lot of sense for them to get a guy like him here. I'm looking at the board. I'm thinking, who else could they have gotten that would be better as a fit? Probably nobody. You look down the first round. I think he was the best possible player they could have gotten there. Concepcion, I think, is a very, very good pick for Cleveland. They double up and they take Denzel Boston right after that in the second round. So they loaded up there. Here's a fun pick. Here's where things got interesting. Keelan Rutledge. The Texans traded back into the first round to get ahead of I believe it was the Bills who were picking 27th originally. Or maybe it was the 49ers. And they moved up and they took Keelan Rutledge here, and just solid pickup. I think this was being rumored that he might sneak into the first because of his positional flexibility. Texans reshaping their offensive line, so I kind of like that pick for what they're trying to do out there.
Yeah, continue to build that offensive line. Also, say we skipped over real quick, but Dylan Thieneman, everybody's kind of projecting him to go to the Vikings.
I think we said he was going to the Bears because they needed a safety badly.
Yeah, I know it's something we talked about. I don't know if we ended up doing it, but yeah, it was a great fit for them that they were able to land him there.
The last pick here that makes sense, that really was not just makes sense, but was a home run here was Peter Woods, 29. Yeah, to the Chiefs. I mean, you think about what the Chiefs are going to accomplish here, dude. I mean, now keep in mind they also added a nose tackle this year. Like they changed their alignment a little bit, and they signed Kairos Tonga. He's going to be there. I think he's playing nose for them. I'm not sure, but I mean, I guess he's right now listed as a D tackle. They generally have 4-man fronts, and some 5-man fronts they used to have with what's his face, Leo Chanel sliding into the D line. But you wonder now with Kairos Tonga, it's really more of a nose. Like, are they going to have Kairos Tonga, Chris Jones, and Peter Woods line up as like nose 3 and 3 to 5, right? And kind of change things around a little bit. But I mean, I think Peter Woods I think people are going to look back at this and be like, how the hell did Peter Woods slide 29? It's just one of the true game changing 3-down D tackles in this class. There were not a lot. There were just a handful of them. He was, I thought, the best.
Yeah, at least upside wise. I think they're hoping he can be their next Chris Jones. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But I think all those guys can play in the field. You see Chris Jones used as like an edge rusher a lot. Like it'll be fine. They can get all 3 of those guys on the field. I'll say a guy not where we said he would go, but Omar Cooper Jr. The Jets come back in. I wasn't a big fan of Omar Cooper Jr., but I like that they came back in and got their guy without having to take him at 16.
They passed on Malachi. What's his name? What am I saying? Makai Lemon, excuse me. And they took their guy. So I mean, I think that's fine. I'm going to skip ahead past some of these guys at the end here. I don't think it's worth really.
Yeah. You want to go ahead to round 2?
Yeah.
All right. So for round 2, let's just go ahead. Let's do a couple. Let's start here alternating our favorite pick. So you start. Tell me, go find a pick you really like, and we'll alternate some favorite. Then we'll alternate some of the worst picks. Then we'll talk about some of our favorite fits.
Oh, hold on. I got a notification from one of our friends. Shout out to Albanian Mike, who's who apparently, despite likes to curse me out and other things on the timeline, because he clearly has mental illness. I appreciate that you watch the show, though. so thank you for watching.
Shout out, Albanian Mike.
Shout out Albanian Mike. We welcome you as a viewer. Thanks.
He likes me. He just thinks you mess with my head.
He watches for you. He watches Hate Watch Me. He watches, and we appreciate you.
Turn me into Sal.
Yeah. What a character. All right. Let's go to I want to go to the second round here.
Yeah, so tell me where, like I said,
right, so
let's go our favorite.
Off the bat. Favorite second round pick.
Yeah, let's go favorite. Each give a favorite, then we'll go least favorite, and then we'll go best fits. So let's start with favorite.
I mean, I'm gonna say my favorite pick for a lot of different reasons was Avion Terrell at 48 to the Falcons. We were both super high on Avion. I think he was heavily underrated because of that stupid 40 time he ran in his pro day while he was hurt with his hamstring injured. Really excellent player, but just being able to go to play next to his brother, I think is really awesome. And I think it's gonna work out well for him, I think. So that was my favorite pick. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I'll give somebody else, but I'll just add on to that. Yeah, I absolutely, I love Avion Terrell. This idea that he's slow is so insane to me. I does not feel based off the tape, but a guy I'll add though, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I was not a big Emmanuel McNeil Warren fan. You were. He had his fans, but oh my God, did they get a good value getting him at pick 58, the 26th pick in the second round. The Cleveland Browns, especially losing a guy like JOK who was going to be out for another season, probably will never play football again. You got a big chess piece in Emmanuel McNeil Warren that you can add to that. I thought that was a fantastic pick. What'd you think of that one?
No, I loved it. It was weird. He was a guy who shot up the board to first round, which I didn't think was going to happen, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's not good enough to the first round. And then people like, how it's this relativity thing with the prospects, right? Like, oh, he's not good enough for the first round. You can't take him at all. Getting him at pick 58 is crazy value. Like, it's insane. I thought he was like a top 50 player the whole way. I just didn't think he was a top, I mean, we had him graded high, but that's not, I think, more a function of like the class where everything kind of evened out and, we were betting on the upside, but people are trashing him as like a first round pick. I was surprised, so I think that's great value here.
Want to do one more set of favorite picks here?
Well, I mean, obviously we got to give shout out to Colton Hood here. I do want to discuss this. Like, when day two started, I think, a lot of people wanted the DT, and some people still feel like the Giants really wanted a DT there. I don't agree. When you looked at the players that were on the board, the cornerbacks were the ones who had the first round grades. It wasn't the DTs. The DTs were solid players. There were 3 first round graded cornerbacks sitting there when the Giants started, and there was a good chance one of them was going to be there. Turns out one of them was there. Actually, all 3 of them were there. The Giants took the one that they felt was the best pick. I have to imagine Jermod McCoy was not on their board because of the injuries, right? Yeah. But Colton Hood was a guy that, if you heard Brandon Brown speak about it, and if you guys haven't listened to Brandon Brown, go listen to his interview with the media from, I think it was Saturday. Really excellent 20-minute listen. It's on Giants Life. It's on YouTube, I believe. Just take a listen to Brandon Brown's interview. But he talked about how they scouted Colton Hood from, his Colorado days. Like guys were following him and they were saying, hey, watch him. And they saw him in the first week of the season and how he won SEC Player of the Week. And he was on their radar all year. And I think they really wanted him there and they took him. I don't think they wanted McDonald here. I really don't believe that. I think the Texans thought they wanted him. That's why they traded to get him. But Brandon Brown talked specifically when it came to D tackles. I don't know if you heard him. He's talked about we want guys who have knockback power. Did you hear that comment from him? We talked about that, right? We talked about that in the weeks leading up to the draft, that the DTs who are great run stuffers, but who don't have knockback power and who, I think we called it pocket pushers, like guys who don't do that generally, they don't really live up to their draft stock. They're just okay. They're not that great. It's the guys who have knockback power, the guys who are pocket pushers who seem to translate better. And you made a point of it when we reviewed McDonald. You were like, he's good, but he has no pocket push. He just stands there and eats double teams, and that's it. And I think you were right on with that assessment, even though I liked him a little bit more than you. There's projection. He's young and strong, but I don't think you can look at his tape and say, oh, that's a knockback power guy, right? I don't think they were going to take him. If you listen to what Brendan Brown had to say, I don't think he was their guy. If anything, I think they would have been more interested in Lee Hunter because he actually has knockback power. But I think it was Hood all along. So I think that's a great pick for the Giants.
Agreed. I'll say another one of my favorite picks, one of the best picks of the second round, CJ Allen. CJ Allen was another guy who I was very high on, and he continued to fall in the draft process. He went to the Indianapolis Colts at pick 53. The Colts, the Colts traded Zaire Franklin. And they replaced him here with CJ Allen. I think you brought in a 10-year starter. Like, I think I don't know what his ceiling will be, but I think he's a damn good football player, and I think he's going to start in this league for a long, long time.
I'll go one more pick I really like, and we'll talk to some about some we don't. The last pick of the round, Bud Clark. Maybe a little early on most projections for Bud Clark going to the Seahawks. I like the pick a lot because of what he does to fit their scheme in Seattle. Bud Clark is just a solid do everything safety. You want him to play safety and play like a traditional 2-high role, he can do that. You want him to drop into center field and cover a lot of range, he can do that. You want him to get in the box and tackle guys and be good in run support, he can do that. You want him to play nickel, he can do that. He does everything. I think that fits Mike McDonald's defense to a T, and taking him here at pick 64, I think is excellent value. I think Bud Clark is going to be looked at as one of the better picks from this round here.
Yeah. All right. Tell me one of your least favorite picks from the second round.
Yeah, I think there were definitely some reaches here. I'll be honest. I didn't. So I'm going to go from the top. Dejon Stribling.
Yeah, that's the guy that comes to my mind.
Good player, but taking him at pick 33, the Niners got smoked for this. Maybe he's as good as they think. Pick 33, you take a wide receiver here, you're talking about essentially like you think he can be a potential wide receiver 1. That's the kind of area you're taking him. At the worst, like a very high-end wide receiver 2. Do you believe that's probable for Stribling? Or do you think they just took a replacement for, Juwan Jennings?
Look, Kyle Shanahan's going to take who Kyle Shanahan likes. And to some extent, you got to trust him. As the front office in the 49ers, you certainly just have to let Kyle Shanahan get his guys. But I don't love the my guy process. And I thought there was better players on the board here that could help that team more.
I agree with you. I just didn't like the pick at all. I'm looking down. Most of these picks went kind of like chalk. I should mention, I have to mention this. I love D'Angelo Pons going exactly where I thought he would go to the Jets.
Well, that's when I was going to say for best fits.
Yeah. So, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
I made the comp with you and KSI here weeks ago when we did our review. I said he reminds me of young Aaron Glenn, 1994 Aaron Glenn coming out of Texas A&M, because I remember that draft. And then he gets taken by Aaron. I think I even said I'd be shocked if Aaron Glenn doesn't see Aaron Glenn and doesn't take him.
Yep.
And he took him. And then during the draft, Dan Jeremiah does his reveal, says, "Oh, I've got a big reveal. He reminds me of Aaron Glenn." And they show Aaron Glenn like smiling ear to ear as they say it. It's, if you saw young Aaron Glenn play in college and in the NFL for the Jets, then it's hard to imagine that you don't see the comps to D'Angelo Pons. I thought that was just perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved the fit. I thought it was a phenomenal fit for D'Angelo Pons. That was one of my favorite fits of the draft for sure.
Yep. No, that was it. Let's go. So the ones we don't like. Most of these went chalk. I didn't. Here's one that I thought there's one that's sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, that's the one.
Nate Borkature.
Yeah, what the hell are they doing? Yes, what the hell are they doing?
Nate Borkature, the Texas A&M tight end. The Jaguars took him at 56.
He had 19 receptions last year.
Where was he on the consensus big board? Like 200? Like seriously, where
he was 159 on ESPN.
Wow. I get it. Teams have their own board, but 159 to 56? That is insane. They took a tight end here. Like there were other tight ends like that came off, like Max Clare went later. If you wanted a tight end, why not take Max Clare here? He's a more accomplished receiver, a better, a better overall tight end who's played at a big stage and had, I get his production was limited a little bit because of who's in that Ohio State room, but you knew he was good. I was just surprised. Like that was very much a my guy. I'm just banging the table and taking him kind of pick. Insane. Like who was taking Nate Borkature? I don't know what they were doing there.
Another McVay guy, maybe. I don't know.
It was bizarre. What did you think? Do you have anybody here that stood out to you beyond Borkature that was like a strange pick?
I mean, I didn't like Klein. I didn't really like any of these tight end picks. I didn't like Marlon Klein to I know there's always pick. They love their blockers, man. They always pick their blockers.
Way too early too.
Yeah, I didn't like that pick. I didn't love Max Clare, but I was pairing those other two. I didn't like Igboson, David.
These three picks, these two especially, I think are worth discussing. So Igboson going pick 62, I think is about a round early for him. The Ohio State corner especially to the Bills, who have a history of just kind of screwing up their drafting of cornerbacks. Igboson is a really good athlete. He can mirror guys. He can flip his hips, and he's very smooth athletically. But that guy, man, his instincts are very Deonte Banks-like. Just doesn't know where the ball is. Tons of holding, panics and pulls guys. I think that's just he's someone you're not going to feel comfortable relying on. And I don't like that pick there personally.
I think I'd rather if I was going to see him succeed, I think it's going to be as a safety in the NFL. I don't think he's an NFL corner.
And you took him way too early. The next pick was also kind of surprising to me. I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick per se, but the LA Chargers took Jake Slaughter, I think, way early, pick 63, honestly, way early at pick 63. And it's even more surprising because they took him to play guard. If you heard Jim Harbaugh and Joel Ortiz talk about this, because they got their center, right? I mean, they didn't they get Tyler Biadasz? Biadasz, or is that how you said Biadasz?
Biadasz, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got him already, and he's their starter. They announced Slaughter, who's played center essentially the whole time at Florida. He's going to move now to guard. Now, he's a big center, but he's not a big guard. He's kind of like he's a little bit of an undersized guard, and so you're moving him out of position. If you wanted a guard, why didn't you take Jennings Dunker here? Why didn't you take even Emmanuel Pregnon here? I know he's older, but like, why not one of those guys? Why Jake Slaughter? I'm curious about that pick, and I have a lot of faith in the Harbaughs and the Ravens tree when it comes to drafting, but I thought that was a curious pick.
Deke says we're name challenged.
We are name challenged.
Not wrong. One guy we skipped over that I also was going to mention as, I think one of the best fits, and you could argue was a reach, was not for me, but consensus wise he was. Logan Jones, Chicago Bears. I love that fit for him. To replace Drew Dahlman, I think Logan Jones is a high upside offensive lineman. I think that this guy has a lot of Tyler Linderbaum to his game, and the Baltimore Ravens were targeting him, and he went earlier than they expected because the Chicago Bears pulled the trigger on somebody who they really liked, and I think he's going to be a great player for the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears went and got Garrett Bradbury in free agency. They knew they needed a center. We talked about this in the offseason. The center market was hotter than expected. There was a lot of movement. Guys retired, and there was a lot of impetus to try to get one. It raised their value. Linderbaum went for $27 million. Obviously, he's a little bit different, but still, Logan, we kind of hypothesized that some of these centers might go earlier than consensus would expect because of that. And Jones was like, I think if you're going to go get one of them, go get Logan Jones, right? And I think they said, let's just swing here and take him. Wouldn't be surprised if Jones immediately wins the job from Bradbury. I would not be surprised if he's their starting center next year. But, if nothing else, he's their future center, and they got great value here. I think that's it for this round, man. I don't see much else in this round that was like either big yes, big no kind of thing. Let's go to the third round.
Yeah,
third round go ahead.
No, I think this one will be these ones will be kind of easier the fly through, picking our favorite or least favorite and some of our favorite matches.
We can go one by one. So Carson Beck is the first pick. I mean, I understand why the Cardinals would do this. They at some point had to take a quarterback to hedge themselves against the possibility that maybe they're not in position to get one next year, right? They want to have someone in the building. Makes sense to me. And I presume, although they announced today that Jacoby Brissett is the starter, it's hard to imagine that Carson Beck doesn't start playing for them at some point this year. They want to see what they've got in him, right? Before you head into the offseason.
So Matt Miller compared him to Davis Mills. Do you think it's just because they're both really ugly?
Yeah. Like large necks, ugly. Did Davis Mills have this much acne?
I don't think so.
Am I gonna get like comments from people with rosacea now? Like in the YouTube comments, and I'm gonna have to apologize to people with skin disorders. I'm sorry, everybody, preemptively. Not my fault. Carson Beck is ugly. Tyler on, but I get the pick. I think it makes a lot of sense there. Onyedem, the defensive tackle, went to Denver, made sense. I really like Kieran Crawford. I just think the Raiders did a good job here, man. They had a good draft. I don't know if you paid attention to what they did overall, but they had a solid draft. I mean, we got to get used to the Raiders actually being competent again. But I mean, just their picks. I mean, listen to this really quickly. I'll run through it. Mendoza, Traden Stukes, great pick. Kieran Crawford was the Auburn edge who was actually good as opposed to being projectable. Trey Zune, the tackle from A&M who projects as either a center or a guard. They took him in the third round as well. That was another great pick. So they had two really solid picks in the third round there. Jermod McCoy, top of the fourth round. I love that pick, right? I loved it. Mike Washington, the running back, to be the complement to their primary running back in Ashton Genty. That's great. Yeah, and then Dalton Johnson's a safety who can be a rotational guy. Hezekiah Masses, they got in the fifth round. I love him. Well-coached cornerback from a school that's producing, and a coach who's produced a lot of cornerbacks from Cal. Malik Benson's a wide receiver who I think was heavily underrated from Oregon. And then Brandon Cleveland's a rotational DT. Like, they had a solid draft. The Raiders had a plan to load up their roster. It's very obvious. They swung for guys who could really load up their roster for the future and build around Fernando Mendoza. They did a good job here. So I appreciate what they did here. I can respect it.
Yeah, no, that's a great draft.
Marco Bell, the tackle, the big gigantic tackle. I would be worried about this pick, Monty, if they had Jeff Stoutland as their Without Jeff Stoutland, he's just a big clunky, long tackle, and I can see him completely collapsing and failing out there.
Yeah.
Sam Roush,
really early for him.
I did not like the Sam Roush pick here by the Bears. What about you?
Yeah, no.
I mean, they already have Loveland, tight end 1, by the way, Colson Loveland, and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cole Kmet is a guy that they'll probably be looking to move on from in the near future, maybe trade him. Sam Roush is going to be more of their blocker. 12-man personnel. He's 6'6", 267 pounds.
Yeah. Romello Height's a good player. I think this is good value for the Niners at pick 70.
Yeah, I love that pick. They reached on him. Again, this was a reach, but I thought Romello Height was somebody who was completely underrated this entire process. I thought he was just as good of a college football player this last year as David Bailey. I thought they complemented each other very well, and I thought Romello Heights looked quicker off the ball at a lot of times and got to the quarterback faster.
Antonio Williams, a good receiver from Clemson who goes to the Commanders.
I really like
that's a sneaky good pick here for the Commanders. He could be a really impactful player for them.
We've talked about our pick. If we're going to trade for one of these wide receivers in the rain, that was a guy I liked.
Yeah. Takario Davis, the long corner from Washington to the Bengals. The Bengals have not quietly, they've had an outstanding offseason. They've loaded up their defense. They're ready to compete, man. They're going to be tough in the AFC. In fact, I'm looking at the AFC. I'm thinking, who's better than the Bengals right now? I don't think anybody on paper. Oscar Delp, pick 73 to the Saints. I think we all thought he would go earlier than most people had him.
I think that's a much better pick than basically every tight end we've talked about so far.
I agree, because Delp actually has the upside, right, of being a good receiver. He's a great athlete. Remember, former lacrosse player, highly recruited player. I think something about that Georgia offense, these guys underproduce what their ability is. Fields,
Really good
obviously, a
athlete.
Giants. Let's talk. I mean, do we want to talk about Fields anymore? I think we've kind of
No, we didn't like the pick because one of the
Yeah.
picks in the third round we didn't like overall.
I like him more than Caleb Douglas, who went next to the to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And there was a run of receivers here. I mean, Drew Allar, interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about Drew Allar for a second because I thought that was an interesting pick. You know, this is what I'll say about Drew Allar. You and I reviewed him last year. We weren't big fans of Drew Allar. We didn't see the hype. You know, people are talking about him as a top 5 pick. I pushed back against that very hard. I thought that was a lot of recency bias when it was happening in the playoffs. With that said, for the people who saw Drew Allar as a first-round pick, who saw him as a potential top 5 pick, I have to push back and question how you let a guy fall here off of the season he had. He didn't crumble. He was slightly worse than he was in other seasons and then broke his ankle, which he was fully healthy for the combine. I'm not a Drew Allar guy, but this was good value for Drew Allar. And 76. If you saw him as a first round pick, there was nothing this last year that should have made him drop this far. Nothing. People act like he completely fell apart. He was the same guy this year. He was the same guy.
It was the same very mid quarterback with a lot of traits is what he was, you know?
And I like what the Steelers essentially were reported saying is they're bringing in Drew Allar and they're saying forget everything you learned about playing quarterback position. Like you're relearning it and they're going to have Mike McCarthy reteach him, which, something Mike McCarthy does well.
So this is perfect for the Steelers. When they hired Mike McCarthy, McCarthy's a good coach, and he's solid overall with win-loss record. He's solid with quarterbacks, especially. Where he struggles is some of the executive coaching stuff, I think, right? And the leadership stuff, I think, at times. But if you told me what's the benefit of having Mike McCarthy, it's you want him to come in here and basically develop your future quarterback, right? That's the real value of Mike McCarthy. If that's what you're hiring him to do, you're basically taking this specimen at quarterback and you're saying, here you go, deep program him, blank slate, and now you instill your knowledge and training into him and make him a quarterback. So even if Mike McCarthy has a failed tenure as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach and he's not their head coach after a couple of years, he's going to have a couple of years to develop Drew Allar. And the Steelers might have found, honestly, prototypically their next Ben Roethlisberger prototype here, right? An athletic, big arm, Midwestern. He's a Cleveland kid, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Ohio.
Right. I mean, I can see this working, right? This is a good fit for Drew Allar, and this is a good fit for Mike McCarthy. You're right. This is great
a Penn State kid and brought him Pittsburgh.
Yep, another one, right? Another Pennsylvania kid. So Chris McClellan is the next pick. Let's move on. I love Chris McClellan. I think he's a 3-down D tackle. For a second, Monty, I thought we were trading up to take Chris McClellan. I was like, wow, they're trading a lot because I thought they wanted the 3-down defensive tackle. He goes to the Packers. He's going to be a backup there to Devontae Wyatt, I believe. But good value there in the third round. AJ Halsey's a good safety, fits in very nicely, athletic guy with the Colts. Zachariah Branch stays in Georgia, goes to the Falcons. Again, I think it's a pretty good fit for their wide receiver room. They lost Darnell Mooney. I think he fits in nicely in that slot role.
He's gonna be a weapon for him.
Jacoby Lane here, in pick 80.
We were higher in Jacoby Lane, some other people, so I like that pick here.
To the Ravens, yeah.
I'll say a guy. I don't know if anybody had a better combine drills than Jacoby Lane. He looked so smooth through the gauntlet and all his drills. He looked great at the combine. A guy who's he's going to struggle to get off press. He's got to improve as a wide receiver. He's got to improve his strength, but a guy who I do see upside from him.
And here we go again with another reach. Albert Regis, pick 81 to the Jaguars. And they traded up for him, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, ChatGPT told him to make these picks probably.
So Albert Regis is a good player. He's an A&M defensive tackle. He's a workhorse, right? He's a workman-like 2-down defensive tackle, run stuffer. solid, right? He's one of these guys going to be in the NFL probably a long time, just being like a rotational defensive tackle who does the dirty work. To take him here in the third round, and he basically is a backup for you to just be a rotational guy, to me is shocking, honestly shocking, right? Like, yeah, I agree. I agree here. 5th round, great. I think 5th round would have been right for him. Taking him here is very early, in my opinion. Again, you reached again for the Jaguars. Like the Jaguars really, the Niners got a lot of crap, but the Jaguars, man, they really did some crazy shit in this draft. And he's a fine player, but the next pick, I think, was a better player. Dominique Orange went the next pick to the. I think he's a more accomplished player than Regis. So, I don't understand what the Jags are doing here. I can just tell you, I hate that pick for them and that value for them. Chris Brazel,
upside.
Okay, let's talk about him for pick 83. The next 2 picks, Brazel at 83, Ted Hurst at 84 to the Bucks. Brazel's the guy you and I did not like watching his film, mainly because there was just a lot of inconsistency in the route running, inconsistency play to play, in the blocking, not leaving the line of scrimmage, just not standing still. A lot of stuff. I don't know how much of that was just him or the way they coach him in Tennessee. Whatever it is, I didn't like it. But if you're talking about upside, that's a big upside swing. That guy has tremendous athletic talent.
He reminds me a lot of a Donnie Mitchell. He's just 2 skinny, tall guys who just move differently than guys that size. That for how tall he is, you like the lateral movement ability those 2 guys have just is rare.
Yeah, it's a big upside swing. And to be honest, at pick 83, that's really good value because he has the upside to be like potentially like a 1A, like a 1B type receiver, right? If he hits his potential.
Yeah.
Look, and you're getting a pick 83. That's excellent.
I mean, do you get through George Pickens here? Like that is the type of upside he has.
Right. He has tremendous upside. So does the next guy, Ted Hurst. Who he got comped to? George Pickens.
There you go.
Like a lot of people. I mean, big athletic outside receivers who have shiftiness that's beyond their size that you would expect, who are good at ball tracking. They do a lot of good things, and you just have to kind of bet on certain things you're not sure of translating. With Hurst, it's just a competition. Playing at Georgia Southern, is it going to translate to the NFL level? Again, at pick 85, that's tremendous, right? That's a big swing.
That's their body type replacement for losing Mike Evans.
And they've already announced he is their X receiver, right? Which makes sense. So I love, where these picks are taken, I love these picks, honestly, where they're going, where they were drafted. These are solid value picks. There's not much else here. Dalen Everett is very much a Steelers kind of player at corner. Austin Barber, the tackle from Florida. I don't love him actually. Going to the Browns, they're just taking another tackle here. I never really liked him. I don't know what you thought of him as a prospect.
Yeah, not a huge fan.
Kaczmarek is a blocking tight end here. Again, another blocking tight end from Ohio State.
They love taking their blocking tight ends when you can just sign them for nothing. The next
here finally, Emmanuel Perignon, I think, is good value here. Pick 88. This is where the Jaguars, I think, got some value. Emmanuel Perignon here at 88. Older prospect, but a lot of people had him in the top 50. I think Drugler had him somewhere in the 60s or 70s, but I think this is either way. This is good value.
Yeah, we were lower on him, but I think here was a fantastic value for him.
Yep. Xavier Thomas, wide receiver from LSU. I think this is way early for him. I'm not sure what the Bears are doing here. They take a tight end and a wide receiver, neither of whom project to be big time contributors, and they're taking him in the 3rd round here. I'm not really sure what the Bears are doing here in the 3rd round, honestly. Let's look at the Bears draft for a second. Let's see because I didn't really analyze their draft, but I got the impression it wasn't wonderful. But so Thienemann's a good pick in the 1st round. That fits their need. Jones was a good pick in the 2nd round for the future, if we agree there. But Roush and Thomas, I don't think make a lot of sense. In the 4th round, they took Malik Muhammad, which I think is an excellent pick. I really liked him a lot. I think he fits his own system. Dennis Allen's going to like him a lot. And they took Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker from Arizona State, who's a good player, by the way. And then Jordan Vanderberg, the athletic freak defensive tackle from Georgia Tech. So they took some swings late. So really they had an okay draft, but the 3rd round picks, I don't understand here. I think they're a team that's in win now mode. They're definitely Super Bowl contenders coming off last year. I think they could have done better here. What about you?
Yeah, no, I don't love that pick.
You could have got an edge rusher like Romello Height went the pick after Sam Roush. They could have used they could have used an edge rusher, right? They could have taken Height there. Guys like Antonio Williams, they could have taken over Sam Roush. They could have taken Oscar Delp. I think he would have made more sense, honestly.
Yeah.
There are a lot of players they could have taken that would have made more sense, and over, anyway, over Xavier Thomas, I think they're just better players. Kalen Black at 20, pick 26 overall in the third round, 90 overall in the draft to the Niners. What do you think about that one? That one got a lot of attention.
I mean, look, the one thing that I know when the 49ers pick their running back, they pick the running back that fits their scheme, and they do it well every single time. It's not necessarily a guy who's going to be good at elsewhere, but they have like 4 or 5 guys on their board every single year. I think they said Kalen Black was their running back 2 in this draft. I think is what Kyle Shanahan said. And he's somebody who I'm sure is going to thrive in that scheme because they know exactly what to look for there.
I will never doubt Kyle Shanahan, the coach. I will doubt Kyle Shanahan, the talent evaluator, when it comes to the draft, because I feel like he gets a lot out of players that don't really. I think he does more with less. And
I do think running back something he knows exactly what he's looking for, though.
And so I'm not going to question that one too much. Right now, their running back room is obviously Christian McCaffrey, Jordan James, and now Kalen Black. But he's like their third running back. You're taking him here in the third round. It's very interesting. Here's my problem with the Niners overall draft. Here's their offensive line. Trent Williams obviously is all pro at left tackle. Their left guard is Connor Colby, 7th round pick from a year ago. Jake Brendel is their center. He's okay. Dominic Pooney's a good player. 3rd round pick as a right guard from 2024. And Colton McKivitz is their right tackle. They needed a tackle because Trent Williams is getting up there in age. I know they just paid him. They need somebody who can play that position. They need somebody to play center.
Started in a guard and then move out to left tackle.
Or to center. Like they needed somebody here. And I mean, a center I think would have made sense for them. Somebody who could play center and play interior O-line a little bit and help them.
Mm-hmm.
And the next pick after Kalen Black was Trey Zune.
Yeah, which
went to the Raiders.
Felt a little bit early to where people were kind of like putting him, but I don't think it's early as a talent, and like very, very high upside for Trey Zune. And it's interesting is now the Raiders have like 3 centers. They have Tyler Linderbaum, they have Trey Zune, and they have
Jackson Johnson.
Yeah, all centers, 2 of them playing guards.
Well, I think Zune is probably playing guard for them, I imagine, right?
Yes, he is, yeah.
Well, he's certainly not playing center. So
no.
Interesting. Jashawn Barham. This is one of the best picks of the draft. Freaking Cowboys again. Pick 92 overall. The linebacker / edge for Michigan. This guy was really, this is a value pick, man. He is a violent football player. Really fast, aggressive. Love his explosiveness. They had a good draft. They really did. They added some guys who can be impactful. Keegan Trost is really interesting. Pick 93 overall to the Rams. Remember Bobby Skinner came on the pod and he was like, who do I pick in the 6th round? I said, pick Keegan Trost. Trost, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the highest ranked or highest graded or the highest graded tackle in college football last year. He was up there. Guy who got a lot better playing tackle, going up against guys like Zion Young every day in practice, and he performed really well in the SEC. I thought he was going to be like a 5th rounder, maybe a 6th rounder. Goes here in the 3rd round. You got to wonder the Rams are going to need a tackle. I guess they view him as a tackle, right? For taking him at 93 here, they must. So it's an interesting pick here. Chris Bell goes 30 to the Dolphins. We didn't love him.
Yeah, better value here than where he was getting projected, though.
Eli Raridan, the tight end from Notre Dame, 31. Like this early for him, man.
Mm-hmm.
Early, but the
all tight ends went early.
I know. Here's a pick you're gonna love.
This is my favorite pick of the round.
Oh, because it's so obvious, right? That this is where he went. Jennings Dunker to the Steelers at 96. He's such a freaking Steeler, dude.
He is.
He looks.
Yeah,
like
that's a great pick. He continued to add to that offensive line. They've been fantastic at drafting offensive line, and he's just adding to that. He's going to play guard for them, and he's going to be a hell of a guard.
Yeah. The Vikings had back-to-back picks here, 97, 98. They take Caleb Tiernan, the offensive tackle out of Northwestern, which I thought was an interesting pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are comp picks, by the way. And they took
Yep.
Jacoby Thomas, the safety from Miami. He's a decent player. He's a rotational player. They did not take a corner here. Julian Neal went next to the freaking Seahawks. It's a good pick, I thought,
He's a
from
good fit.
Arkansas for what they're doing. Yeah. And Jalen Husky, the safety from Maryland, went after that. I thought he went a little high, but okay. He went to the Jaguars, Again, they went a little high here.
Yeah.
For the most part,
apparently.
for the most part, I thought there weren't too many surprises. But the theme I'm seeing is like certain teams like the Jaguars, the Niners, they could give a shit about the board and the consensus board. They take whatever the hell they want whenever they feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, you want to jump into day 3 and just take a look and see if there's anything that pops off at you at round 4?
Yeah, let's skip around a little bit with the day 3 picks. Yeah. I think the first one we have to start, first pick of day 3, we have to talk about, and that's Jamad McCoy going 101 to the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, look, at this point in the draft, that's a gamble that's worth taking every single time. If he doesn't play a single down of football for you, I would still say that was a gamble worth taking.
No, I agree with you. If he fails, who cares? If he hits, you're talking about a cornerback one.
Yep.
Here's a pick I love. There's a guy I was advocating for right around pick 105, but I guess he was not going to make it to pick 105, even if we had pick 105. Pick 104 to the Cardinals, Caleb Proctor, the defensive tackle from Southeastern Louisiana. I really thought he would make it to 105. He didn't. I mean, he barely missed, but imagine we kept 105, right? And we were sitting there waiting. He's a guy that I would have been like, Monty, I hope he falls to us. I hope he falls to us. And then if he went 104, I would have been devastated.
Yeah.
I would have been very upset if we lost him one pick early.
Yeah. And Gerald Jackson, the pick for that was also good, would have been a solid interior defensive line pick. And then we were going back to back.
The D linemen started going off the board here. There were a few others that came off later, but listen to the Arizona interior line now, dude. I mean, I really like what they've done here. Walter Nolan, who they took last year, they signed Roy Lopez to be their nose. They drafted Darius Robinson a couple of years ago. He's a starting defensive end. Behind those guys, now they have Caleb Proctor, really freaky athletic, small school D tackle. Andrew Billings, Dante Stills, LJ Collier are still there. They have Mustapher. I mean, they have guys who they can rotate. I like what they're doing over there. At least on the defensive side, I kind of like what they're doing here. And I can see the vision here and on the Cardinals. They don't have a quarterback, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, I like that pick.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, we'll hop around a little bit.
Jonah Coleman to the Broncos. Continue to add to that running back room. I think he's a good football player. I think that was a good pick.
Mm-hmm. What about Cade Klubnik to the Jets? They traded up for him.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, it's not a bad pick. They need quarterbacks to add to that room. They're probably going to draft one next year, but they don't have one. You might as well take a swing on one. See if you can catch lightning in a bottle. I think he was a 5-star recruit. He showed some flashes in college. You're probably hoping more than likely he can be a backup quarterback for you and just see what happens.
Do you think he's going to end up starting for them this year?
Yeah, I would say he gets a shot.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they're going to take a look at him before they. I mean, he's not going to hold it back from drafting.
He'll be a part of the tank.
He'll be a part of the tank. But also, I think we talk about this, right? Like, what if he's decent? Like, what if they're losing, but he looks good? You have a solid backup quarterback beyond this year for when you do draft somebody who's.
Or you can trade him.
Or you can trade him. Like I think it's. I understand Jets fans being frustrated. Like, why of all the people you could have gotten, you went after this guy? They obviously like the traits and the pedigree, and I think they're just saying, look, it's worth a swing here, and they have draft capital to do it, and they did it. I get it. I totally understand their thought process here. Hopping around,
Elijah Surratt.
Yeah, and Devin Moore, like a good pick, a good corner to the Cowboys again, and Elijah Surratt, who they took Jacoby Lane, they take Surratt after that. It's interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with the two of them.
Couple
are they going to
bodies.
Yeah, I mean, they're very similar type of receivers, right? I mean, in terms of the role they might play, both kind of outside receivers. So we'll see. They're both backing up Rashad Bateman and Tez Walker, unless one of them takes over a starting job.
Yeah, and then the Bucks do it again. Two rounds now it seems like they had the best value of the round. They grabbed Keontae Scott at
Miami.
116. Yep, 2 Miami guys. 2 great values. Is he going to be a nickel? Is he going to be a safety? I don't know, but I know he's a damn good football player. Fantastic pick for the Buccaneers.
Let me take a sec. Let me read to you the Bucs draft here, because I think this is about as good as it gets. One of the best draft classes of anybody. You ready for this?
Yeah. Yep.
Ruben Bain at 15 overall.
Amazing.
Josiah Trotter, the Missouri linebacker, at
very good
at 46 overall. Ted Hurst, the ex receiver, at 84 overall. Keontae Scott, the nickel corner, at 116. DeMonte Capehart, the Clemson D tackle, good run stuffer, at 155. Billy Shrout, the guard from Notre Dame, at 160, and then Bauer Sharp, who's a LSU tight end, at 195. I don't really know much about him.
Yeah, no,
their first 6 players, I think they got tremendous value. Tremendous impact for their team. It's a good draft there. All right. Going through this, Grayson Halton's a good pass rushing DT for the Niners. We talk about Klubnik, Surratt. What do you think about Caden Wetchen going at this high, pick 121 to the Steelers?
It was interesting. We got an exciting white there in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I mean, maybe they have a plan for him. Maybe, he's a guy who you're bringing in to be a weapon. He's a guy that you can use creatively, hopefully, on offense and try to find ways to just get the football in his hand. He's going to be a weapon for you as a returner. Do they see him as an actual receiver? I don't. Maybe they do, but I don't know, man. I think he'll bring value to that football team, and as a day 3 pick, you can't be mad about a guy who's gonna bring value to your team.
No, I agree with that. Going through this list here, the ones that so we mentioned Malik Muhammad at 124, excellent pick, I thought. Good value.
Mike Washington, we mentioned too at 122, very good pick.
But back to back, the Bills got Skylar Bell, our favorite, pick in this range. Pick one. You had mentioned he might go to the 120s. I think that's where McShay had him, right? That's exactly where he goes to the Bills. And Caleb Alarms, or the linebacker from TCU, is a very good linebacker. They go back to back. I think they got high value here. The Bills did in the 4th round.
Yeah, I think Skylar Bell is going to be replacing Khalil Shakir sooner than later.
He's going to get a chance to play out there. I mean, they have a bunch of guys who are the same prototype. I've talked to my friend Rad about this. All the receivers are almost exactly the same in terms of prototype, but he's behind Shakir, Josh Palmer, and DJ Moore. I can see him beating out somebody for that job. I can see him beating out Josh Palmer, and Keon Coleman's. He's almost on the verge of being on the way out there. So I think Skylar Bell's going to end up winning a job over there personally. All right. So I think they had a good draft, right there. Connor Lew is good value.
Yeah, it is.
Pick 128. The Bengals take him. A guy who probably would have been center 1 if he didn't tear his ACL, but goes 128 to them. They get good value here. Will Lee, a guy that the Giants had top 30 on. I know DK hates him, but he went 129 to the Panthers. And I mean, I think a lot of the other picks here, there's nothing that really stands out as.
There's 2 that stand out to me.
What stood out to you here?
I like Bryce Betcher to pair with CJ Allen there in Indianapolis. I think that could be a really good linebacker room. And then I really like Bryce Lance here at 136. I thought, that's a guy who, started to rise up boards, but kind of went right where we expected him to in, day 3, the end of round 4. I think that, I said it since the very beginning, the fact that Christian Watson was a top 40 pick, it makes no sense to me that Bryce Lance would go this late. They both lack the competition. They're both similar heights. They both have similar athleticism. To me, I see a lot more upside as a route runner from Bryce Lance than I ever did from Christian Watson.
The Saints had a good draft, man. I think they added their theme was build around Tyler Shuck. They took 3 receivers and a receiving tight end. Here's their draft class. I'll go through it quickly. We know they took Jordan Tyson at 8th overall. They took Christian Miller, the defensive tackle from Georgia, in the 2nd round. Oscar Delp, we just talked about, in the 3rd round. The tight end. They took Jeremiah Wright. It was a good guard. They took him, and they got him in the 4th round. That's good value. They took Bryce Lance right after that in the 4th round, another wide receiver to go with him. Lorenzo Styles, Sonny Styles' brother, the safety in the 5th round. Barian Brown was the other receiver they took from LSU in the 6th round. They took TJ Hall, the quarterback from Iowa, in the 7th. They had a good draft, but clearly the theme was get targets, get guys who can generate targets for their quarterback, building around the quarterback. I think they had a clear plan here and they executed it. So I give them credit. I don't know if it's going to work, but I understand what they were trying to do here.
Yeah, I agree. And rounding it out, I like Kyle Lewis. I think that's a good pick. I think he could be a player who could help out. And price talk to the 49ers, you're betting on the upside there.
It's a good zone corner, right? I think he fits what they want to do. Colby Young, a solid pick. A little, maybe a little early for him, a little bit, but kind of right around where he would have gone. The Georgia wide receiver. Let's go to round 5 and let's go see if we see anybody we like. I mean, we like Kamari Ramsey, and I think he's a good fit to the Texans. I think he's exactly the kind of player that D'Amico Ryans would want, right? A little bit of that like positionless defensive back, right? Who can play kind of all over and do things, but physical, explosive. I like his game. Sam Hecht, center to the Panthers. I like his value here. I think 140. I'm actually surprised he fell this far. Nick Barrett is a guy the Giants had a top 30 pick. I really wanted him. That was our pick, by the way, 145. We made this trade to Cleveland to get up to, that was one of the picks we traded to get Malachi Fields. He goes, eventually they trade the pick to the Chargers and they take him. The other Harbaugh takes him. Barrett is a guy who I think could be a 3-down tackle, a defensive tackle, and good run stuffer at the very minimum. And I think they got good value there at pick 145. Going through this list, Bo Stevens, we liked him.
And he went to Seattle, which means he'll never play. Because every single time we like an interior offensive lineman and they go to Seattle, he never plays football.
Well, that's not true. We loved Gray Zabel before.
Well, yeah. Well, our guys, like mid-round guys, our Olu, our Christian Haynes, and
to
now
be
Bo
fair
Stevens.
to us, we loved Gray Zabel before he was a name. Remember?
True.
We thought, this guy might make it a day 2, and ends up going in the 1st round. He's freaking damn near all pro right away. He's phenomenal.
Speaking of all pro, the Browns walk away with Justin Jefferson.
They got the best wide receiver in the class.
What a grab. They had him at linebacker for some reason, but man.
Alabama. Yeah. I'm going to go through. I'm going to skip over some guys here and point out guys who I think are really good at. Keith Abney. There was a time that Keith Abney was being mocked at the top of the 2nd round for a good long time, right? One of the higher graded corners. I think his measurements hurt him because he came in under 5'10", and his stock fell, right? And right at 30-inch arms, 5'10", boundary corner in college at Arizona State, probably has the size to play nickel. I understand him not going in the top of the 2nd, but dude, he fell to pick 157. He does not have pick 157 tape. He has top 50, top 60 tape. For him to fall
for the Lions.
Right. Was there? I don't recall if there was an injury issue or anything. I don't understand why he fell, but sometimes guys fall. Tremendous value here for the Lions. Let's stop for a second and look at the Lions class because they're again a Super Bowl contender. These players are expected to impact them. Blake Miller, 1st round, excellent value, especially plug and play right tackle, put into a left tackle. Derek Moore, I liked him a lot. Knockback power, edge rusher, nice compliment, I think. Another Michigan guy, by the way, complimenting Aiden Hutchinson. Jimmy Rolder, another Michigan guy, a good linebacker. This is a lunch pail linebacker, right? And I think he complements Jack Campbell well. Keep in mind, they did not pick up Jack Campbell's 5th-year option. And he's playing on his 4th year without a contract. You'd like to think they'll work it out, but I think getting a linebacker here is good value. Keith Abney, we just mentioned. Now, remember, they lost Brian Branch to a torn Achilles like in December, right? You got to wonder, and Brian Branch has been playing mostly safety, but he just kind of alternates between like safety and nickel. You wonder if they look at Keith Abney as a guy who can take on some of those reps, right? Yeah. I think if they look at him that way, that's tremendous value in the 5th round. Kendrick Law, wide receiver of Kentucky, they took at 20, in the 5th round. Skylar Gill Howard as a defensive tackle, I think is a little underrated. They got him in the 6th round pick, 205, and Tyree West, another defensive tackle from Tennessee. They got 222. Pretty decent class. I think Abney is kind of the key to this class, right? Because even though he's a 5th round pick, like if he helps take a lot of reps for them, with the injuries to Brian Branch, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what's his face got injured too, right? Kirby Joseph, he had some injury issues.
That might be right.
Yeah. So I just feel like that's a good pick. What about you? Anything you see here?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. I love that pick. I didn't get, again, as a guy, I didn't get where he was being talked about, but you can't ignore the value here. A guy that you skipped over that I just want to mention too is Jaeger Burton from Kentucky. Really, really good athlete. He went to the right place at Green Bay. They develop guys like this. He's going to have flexibility to play a couple spots for them. I think if he's going to succeed anywhere, it's going to be there.
We talked about some of the other guys coming up here.
Michael Taffy was a guy we liked.
We liked him a lot. DK thinks he's a dirty player. I like that about him. Goes to the Dolphins.
Your fullback goes to the Vikings. Yeah, well, there it is.
Because there you go. They got their fullback. They didn't get a corner. They got a fullback. We talked about Billy Stroud. Emma Johnson's a good change of pace running back to complement Kenneth Walker. It's interesting in Kansas City.
Speaking of running backs, I think it's such a crazy phenomenon of after the draft, you have a bunch of people, and I'm not trying to shade Titans fans just because we're apparently in a beef with them right now, but people who have never watched a guy play football just watch the highlights and look at like the testing numbers and are like, Nick Singleton, the next great running back. I can't tell you how many like TikTok edits I've seen of this guy. I'm like, man, have you guys seen this guy actually play football outside of highlights? Because he's not good. I wanted him to be good. I really did. He's a freak athlete. He's not good at football, man.
He's a terrible running back. I don't know what else there to say. Like for his athleticism and size, for him to be that bad means you're just really, really bad. I don't know whatever. There's a reason he fell to where he fell. The two interesting picks here are the corners back to back. The Ravens take Chandler Rivers, and the Vikings, we mentioned, they took Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin. Rivers is a guy who's, I think, very good. For him, I did not think he'd fall to 162, dude. I think this is really excellent value. The Ravens just sitting back saying, oh, great player sitting there. Let's take him. I mean, they lost John Harbaugh, but, they didn't lose their front office. And I'm going to look at their draft class right here, and it reflects that, right? Just take a look at this. So they have a bunch of picks, had a shit ton of picks. Vega Owani obviously fell to them. Zion Young, really good edge rusher, power rusher, fell to them in the 2nd round. They took him. Jacoby Lane, they took in the 3rd round. Elijah Surratt, they go back-to-back receiver, outside receivers. Matt Hibner, the tight end. What's a Ravens draft without a tight end, right? They got to take one. Chandler Rivers in the 5th round, I mean, as a nickel, remember they lost Washington. They wanted to keep him there. And I think he played a lot of safety and nickel for them when he did play before he got injured. Now, Rivers is backing up, Chidobe Awuzie. But if he plays on the outside, he plays nickel, he's behind Marlon Humphrey. But Marlon Humphrey's getting up there in age, dude. And you got to wonder if they're planning for life without him. They already have, Nate Wiggins on the other side. They have TJ Tampa backing him up. I think this is just great value. They probably got a starter here. Honestly, they got a starter in the 5th round, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good pick for him. It's a very Ravens pick. I think that Lamar and Ravens fans should now chase Eric DeCosta out of town. That's what I think they should do next.
They really should get rid of him.
They should chase him out of town. Send him to New York where he belongs. Send him to the swamps.
Right. We'll trade you, Joe Shane, for Eric DeCosta. Yeah. They took Josh Cuevas, another tight end, Adam Randall, Ryan Eckley, the punter from Michigan State, Rayshon Benny, who I was upset that they took right before the draft ended, and Evan Bierstein. Bierstein, the guard from
Ravens picks.
Yeah, very Ravensy draft. Just wanted to mention the Ravens still doing Ravens things,
I ironically just outside of the next pick here, or one of the next picks here, Tanner Kozel might be better than the pick the Jaguars took earlier at tight end.
Shocking. They took another tight end. They probably took it's just bizarre, right? Like inability to read the board, in my opinion. gonna rip through a lot of these. I don't think any of these are earth-shattering. I mentioned Hezekiah Masses. I think tremendous value, good corner from California. Look out for that name. I pick 175. Kevin Coleman's a good receiver from Missouri, slot receiver, slot inside outside. Goes to
Jalen
Dolphins.
Kilgore is a solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, just not. We're getting to the point of the draft where it gets strange. Cole Payton is an interesting pick by the Eagles at pick 178. They always take a quarterback. Always. Did you watch much of Cole Payton? Because I thought he was awful.
No.
Okay, I thought he was terrible, but they're betting on the traits here. Big, strong kid.
That's what they do. And Zane Durant to finish out the round. Freak athlete. You're just betting on that. Do you see what Mackey said here?
We will keep our bald king EDC. Most likely
We'll see. With two turn him.
So he's next door. He was next door neighbors to John Harbaugh in Owensville, Maryland, and John Harbaugh Mackey knows this. John Harbaugh put his near $7 million house on the market. I think Eric DeCosta should put his near $7 million house on the market and move to New Jersey. And I think you'll love Joe Shane, Mackey. You'll love Joe Shane. He's going to be an outstanding GM for you guys if you take him. Even trade. Final offer. Consider this the makeup for the Ben Bredesen trade, where we gave you a pick swap.
Yeah, there you go.
We're even.
So round 6.
All right.
Future all-pro wide receiver.
So what do you think they're going to do with Taylor Green in Cleveland? I mean, I love the value here of Taylor Green. I mean, Taylor Green is, what is he, 6'6", 230? He's huge. Really super athletic quarterback. Bounced around a little bit. He was at Bowling Green, then he was at Arkansas, but really phenomenal athlete playing quarterback position. I think he's a better passer than some of the dudes who are in this class, a little underrated here. But I mean, to get him at pick 182 is crazy value.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best athletes that has ever tested at the quarterback position. Has 6'6", 230 pounds. I mean, look, bring him with Todd Monken. See what Todd Monken can get out of him. That's a guy who, if anybody's going to get out of him, is probably one of the guys you would hope could. We'll see. I think ultimately this is a guy that we're going to be hoping is willing to make a switch to wide receiver down the road. But until then, I'll be rooting for him. Hopefully he figures it out.
We'll see. It's interesting.
It's worth the dart here.
It's a phenomenal dart throw. I just wonder what Cleveland. I'm just curious, really, more than anything, what they're going to do here. They've got Deshaun Watson, they've got Shedeur Sanders, they're taking Taylor Green. You got to wonder what they're doing in that room over there. I guess Todd Monken is just putting them all in the lab and saying, let's see what I can do with this, and play it out this year and see, I think they're playing for a quarterback. I mean, realistically, I think what they're doing is most likely they're just hedging if Shedeur is not good. They're going to probably give Shedeur a shot, is my guess, this year. That's my best guess of what will happen, but it's very fascinating to see what goes on there. They've had a good offseason. I mean, I can't deny that. And I think they had a good draft again. We can take a quick look at their draft here, dude. Spencer Fano, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, McNeil Warren, Austin Barber, Parker Brailsford, the center from Alabama, Justin Jefferson, all-pro wide receiver, Joe Royer, Taylor Green, Carson Ryan, tight end from BYU. That a solid draft. They're building their roster. Yeah.
Hey, Browns, once they actually get their draft picks, they can draft.
So what's interesting about the Browns, dude, is that for years they were drafting kind of funny because they had hired Paul DePodesta to be essentially, I think that he was their COO or something, or their chief strategy officer, whatever they named him. Paul DePodesta is a baseball guy. He was the Mets assistant general manager for years under Sandy Alderson, the years where they built that World Series team with Matt Harvey and Zach Wheeler and those guys. He was previously general manager of the Dodgers, I want to say. And he was also, or it was either Dodgers or the Padres. Maybe it was the Padres. And he was with Sandy Alderson and Billy Beane in Oakland. He was a Moneyball guy, right, in baseball. Yep. He was the character in the movie Moneyball that was played by Noah. What the hell's his name?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, right? They didn't name him Paul DePodesta. They named him something else in the movie, but that was the character he's supposed to be playing. The Browns hired him to be like this outside the box thinker, strategy. He was drafting for them essentially for years, and they had these bizarre draft classes. And ever since he's been gone, the last couple of years, their drafts have been hitting home runs.
They've done that, and they have draft picks again.
They have draft picks again. That's true. That
Yeah.
helps. All right. Let's go through this. I don't see anything. Bobby James Travis, best pick of the round.
Yeah. So I have a question for you coming up here. So obviously our picks: Bobby Jameson, Travis, J.C. Davis, Jack Kelly.
Yeah.
There, when you watch I mean, we could have talked about that, but there was too much to talk about. But there was the Giants' life, the episodes that have come out, and they were debating between two offensive linemen. They never say who it was, but there was a debate. Do you have any guess? Because I do, but do you have any guess at who the other offensive lineman is?
I know Bobby Skinner was hoping it would be DJ Campbell from Texas.
He made me think of this question.
I don't think it was DJ Campbell.
I don't either.
I believe that they were considering Demetrius Crownover.
Okay.
Because why do I say that, Monty? Because we know Harbaugh likes these monstrosity human beings playing the O-line in every position, and he's like 6'7", 319, nearly 36-inch arms, 35 3/8-inch arms, 10-inch hands, wingspan of 86 inches. Did you see the picture with him and Will Campbell today? Will Campbell looked like freaking Wan'Dale Robinson next to him, you know? Did you see that? Where they were kind of blocking? It looks ridiculous. Unless it was AI, I can barely tell anymor. But he looks monstrously. Yeah, I mean, he's just a huge human being. I thought that's who it would be. But who did you think?
I feel pretty confident, to be honest. I think it was Logan Taylor from Boston College. That's a guy that Chris Nee worked with at Boston College. And you're talking about size, 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I think
that was the guy.
Yeah, no, and as a guard too. So I mean, that's interesting. It was one of them, right? I think it was one of the. I think it was one of those three. It was probably one of those three, right? It was. You're probably right that it's Taylor. I didn't even think about that. That's a good poll. With Chris Nee involved. By the way, I'm very happy Chris Nee is involved in this process. Very happy. But the fact that he gave J.C. Davis his stamp of approval and was like, oh yeah, he checks out, right?
Especially if it was against his own guy.
Right. It makes me feel good about our evaluation of J.C. Davis going into the draft.
The one thing I will say before we move off of this kind of range of picks, though, is pick that I think was a good pick, but I don't like for comp purposes is Pat Coogan to the Titans.
He's not starting. I don't believe he's going to start.
I don't think he's the favorite by any means. I don't think that him winning it would be this huge upset.
He's good. He's a good player. Pat Coogan got bullied he got bullied pretty badly, actually, in the game against Ohio State. That was the one game where Caden McDonald did look like he had knockback power, by the way, was against Pat Coogan. He really kind of bullied him. He struggled a little bit against Moten in Miami, if I recall. He's okay. Austin Schlottman's a stronger center. Austin Schlottman is Brian Dable's guy. Brian Dable is the emperor of the Tennessee Titans, apparently.
He's the emperor, but the emperor drafted Coogan.
Did he, though? I mean, I don't
yes, he drafted fucking everyone.
Well, I don't know if he drafted Coogan, but I mean, I'm not worried about it. I think
if he got say over the fucking fifth pick of the draft, he probably got to stay over fucking all these late picks.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he paid attention, but who knows? Malik Benson is a guy I see. Was it DK to put that in the chat? I agree with this. I'm not a Jack Kelly guy. Neither one of us are. I think fans will love him in camp. And I think he'll be a good special teamer. So don't get me wrong. I think he can be an impact player.
He's a more exciting, what he brings to the defense is more exciting compared to most special teamers, but he's a special teamer.
Correct. But Malik Benson is an actual explosive threat at wide receiver. And I just think doubling up at wide receiver would have been wise. if they had the chance to. They obviously didn't value the rest of the guys too much. He was there,
or double at offensive line if you had two guys you were thinking between,
or defensive tackle. I mean, I would have taken a defensive tackle here.
Skylar Gill-Howard.
I would have taken Rashawn Benny here. I know he didn't get drafted till later in the 7th round, but I think he would, doubling up in DT would have been fine. Whatever. I'm not going to go crazy over pick 193 or whatever, but I think there were some potential swings that I would have taken. But look, they wanted a guy who could play special teams and be a backup linebacker. I can't blame them. I'm looking at the rest of this. Here's one that's interesting. Damon Claiborne. A lot of Giant fans wanted him, the Wake Forest running back, as a good complement to what we have here. Change of pace, elusive slashing type runner. I think he would have been a decent complement to what we have here. He went a few picks later, 193 to the Vikings.
I think that would have been a really good fit.
I mean, again, DJ Campbell, Logan Taylor, these were all possible picks here. They could have tripled up on the O-line.
Really good special teams guy too.
Yep. Micah Morris, what did you think of him?
Micah
Went
Morris,
to the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was the Eagles, using the planet theory that they often use in these drafts. 6'5", 334 pounds. He's not ready, but he's a guy who actually has like normal size, unlike
traits.
Yeah, he has traits that we've seen work, not like 6'9". It's like, is that gonna work? Like, we'll see.
Yeah. Two more names I want. Well, for one thing, without Jeff Stoutland there, I don't.
That's the difference.
I don't like these online picks for the Eagles here, either Bell or Morris, because they're both projects, and they're both big Planet Theory guys who are projects. I think drafting like Jeff Stoutland is still your O-line coach when you don't have Jeff Stoutland. You might find out that projects don't often develop, and I think that I hope that's the case for the Eagles. Matt Gulbin is a guy DK loved, center out of Michigan State. I think he projects at center or guard. Commanders got him there. So it's a good pick. There's one more guy that I think is worth discussing in this round that I think we have to discuss. Pick 215, dude. Yep. And I would have taken him. We were talking about who we would have taken instead of Jack Kelly. Harold Perkins Jr. falls to. I mean, this was a guy who was getting top 15 buzz a year ago, top 10 buzz. Tears his ACL, comes back. He's a tweener. He's a tweener linebacker. He's 6 feet, 7/8 inches, 223, 31 and 3/8 arms, 8 and 1/8 hands, 77-inch wingspan. Not the greatest measurables, but he's fast as shit. He's explosive. He's kind of a movement chess piece weapon on defense, right? If you could find a role for Jack Kelly on your team, how do you not find a role for Harold Perkins?
Yeah, and I know he doesn't have the special team experience, but he's a guy who, given some coaching, would be a phenomenal special teamer, in my opinion.
Yeah. I just really like him as if nothing else, at pick 2, you could have had him instead of Jack Kelly. I think he would have been a perfect backup linebacker. A rotational linebacker who could have been a huge impact player, I think, for us. I think that was the biggest swing you could have taken there. I wish they had taken it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad about the Jack Kelly pick by any means. I think it was a good pick, but yeah, I would have preferred Harold Perkins.
Let's go to the 7th round and close this sucker out. So TJ Hall sticks out as a good pick to me. The Saints at pick 219, cornerback from Iowa. Iowa has produced just solid corners for years now. Not the best athlete, but he's a technically good, competitive corner. Getting him here, I think, is good to add to your room. Quarterback, Ethan Kalakamanis, the Rutgers quarterback, goes to the Commanders at 223. That's interesting. That's just one. He's obviously competing to replace Sam Hartman as a backup. I don't know if
well, C must have saw something out of him.
How about VJ Payne, the safety to the Jets at 228?
Another great pick.
Yeah, good value here, right?
Yeah, that was a fantastic pick. He's a good football player. He's gonna help out in the run. He's gonna be a guy who contributes for them.
And here's the pick that broke your heart. The exciting White himself.
You know what? It brought a tear to my eye. I loved the moment.
You wanted him to hit the UDFA.
I did. he would have signed with the guy who drafted him. To be honest, actually, he said he had somebody lined up, so that's probably not true. We don't know where he would have gone, but I love the moment. It's crazy that he was there. He's a Pittsburgh native. He's a full dress, like full Navy, attire. He's walking out of that stage, getting cheered on by his hometown city. I thought that was a really fucking cool moment. He's gonna be a good player for Pittsburgh. Mark my words.
We're talking about Eli Heidenreich from Navy.
Mm-hmm.
He's essentially like a slash running back slash slot
receiver. Yeah.
Right. He's a very interesting offensive chess piece, really great athlete.
Yeah. Mike McCarthy will find a way to use him. He's going to be a fun player. I mean, hey, maybe he's like a Ty Montgomery type guy for him,
100% could see that, and a better athlete actually, in many ways. Going down the list, not a lot of guys here. So this is the point of the draft where we're watching saying that we hope somebody makes it. We hope somebody makes it.
This killed me.
Oh yeah. So here's a few picks that sucked. Armand Reed Adams was a guy that we reviewed as a guard. I think fell off a lot this year. The Bills took him at pick 241, 6-year senior guard, 6'5", 314, 34-inch arms, dude, 34, almost 35-inch arms.
He was seen as a first rounder going into this. He was in all those 2026 mock drafts this time of the year.
Planet Theory guy, right? Huge arms, 85-inch wingspan. Didn't have the best year. But he's a powerful blocker. He has some issues with his leverage. He has issues with his, just his stance and stuff. But like, I think a lot of that stuff is at this level, developmental guard. You could coach it out, some of the bad habits out of him. A lot to work with here. I love the pick and the value here. I kind of wish he had hit free agency. Cole Wisniewski, the safety out of Texas Tech, good player. Eagles get him at 244. That kind of pissed me off. Yep. And then I don't know. Do you have anybody Nussmeier? That's your guy.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't piss me off. I thought that was a great spot for him, but I couldn't believe how much Nussmeier fell. I could not believe it. I mean, there's got to be injury aspects to this. Maybe there's some aspects to, you saw it with Quinn, where it's just, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's like once a guy is not considered a franchise quarterback, they really can go fucking anywhere. It's like as soon as you're not like a top 50 pick, you can go anywhere. I think he laid a great spot for him. He's obviously never going to. Maybe he can play this year. We'll see. Probably best if he didn't, but he might get an opportunity depending on what happens with Mahomes. But he's going to sit under a great quarterback developer in Andy Reid. I think he has real NFL traits, and I think at one point before this rookie contract's up, he's going to be lighting up the preseason, and the Chiefs are going to be getting calls on this guy for like a pretty decent pick. That's my prediction.
The pick that pissed me off the most in the second round, the next one. I hope Mackey's still here because he pissed me off. Was Rayshon Benny at pick 250. The Ravens took him with only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks to go in the draft. They take Rayshon Benny, the Michigan D tackle who had a top 30 visit with the Giants. Obviously, Michigan connection to the Harbaughs. I wanted depth here in the defensive tackle room, and I was hoping when he was sliding that he would get to UDFA status. I am very confident that he was going to be a giant if he hit the UDFA world. I really strongly believe that he would know that he would have a chance to compete for playing
Harbaugh.
The 30 visit, Harbaugh, he was going to get a shot here. And if I were him, I'm almost pissed that I got taken by the Ravens because I think there's almost zero shot he plays on the Ravens. Maybe he doesn't make the team.
Maybe he gets cut. Yeah.
We'll see. They probably will keep him because they're pretty good about stuff like that. But they know their talent. But this one hurt me like a little bit because I'm like, shit, because I really wanted 2 D tackles in this class. And I thought, all right, we got our guy, our run stuffer in the 6th round. I think we got good value out of Bobby James and Travis, but Rayshon Benny was another guy I would have taken right there in the 6th round. Here he was, and he just gets taken at this one. Just after it just sucked because I thought we were going into like UDFA with a guy like him there, and since we knew him, we were going to go get him. But that one sucked for me. How about you?
Yeah, no, that one sucked. I did not think of it as in depthly as you, and you're hurting me more by describing it that way. But Yeah, no, that was one of the ones that was painful down. There was a few here, but that was the first one that down the stretch that really kind of hurt.
Yep.
The next pick, didn't love that either. Didn't love it because it was Philadelphia. It's going to be a developmental guy, but you are Bernard. I don't probably mispronounce his first name, but this is a guy at 300 pounds, ran the low 4.6s and jumped 40 inches. Look, he's new to football, but god damn, that is one of the greatest athletes I've ever come across as far as testing numbers. And God, that's a guy you take a shot on, and hopefully he doesn't become anything for the Eagles. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Bernard, I don't think he's much of a football player. I've watched him, it's a project. Again, I don't know what they're going to do with him, but it is something, it's very Eagle-ish to take him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not much of a football player now. We'll see.
We'll see. Here's one that really pissed me the fuck off. Deion Burks, right? That's what you're talking about?
Guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy had a day 2 grade on him, and he there were some second round grades on Deion Burks, the wide receiver from Oklahoma, just a shade under 5'10", 5'9" and 3/4, 180 pounds. Not the best measurables. He came in under 30-inch arms, 29 and 3/8-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands, not the biggest wingspan, 72 and 3/4. Does not fill out the mock draftable sheet very well, but he's a slot receiver. And he's a very, 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 very good route runner. I mean, very Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Like really a good route runner. And I mean, a better route runner than Wan'Dale was coming out of college, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But Wan'Dale, I'm talking about Wan'Dale now, right? Like a crafty route runner, finds a way to separate and get open, makes himself a target, even though he's small. He's not somebody who's going to threaten you in the vertical plane too much. He's not going to be on the outside, but a really solid route running slot receiver, an impact player on your team, catches kind of everything, holds on to the football. He's small, but he's strong, and he gets yak. He gets a little running room when he takes off. And I mean, the guy is a player. He's got, I think he had cysts on his spine, if I'm not mistaken, right? If that was the issue or something like that.
It fell.
And so there were some issues from a health standpoint, but I mean, I picked 254,
That was
again,
fantastic pick by this Colton,
ridiculous for a guy who was a second round value, him falling all this way. Those were the two guys, dude, that I was Rayshon Benny and Deion Brooks, the two guys I was watching as this went down and thinking, please make it to UDFA. Please make it to UDFA. We should have. Now, I don't think the Giants were linked to Burks, if I'm not mistaken. And he is absolutely not the prototype John Harbaugh would sign. But he's a good receiver. And as a UDFA, you would have liked to think somebody in that building would have said, hey, we could use some receivers here. Let's go get this guy,
He'd be very Wan'Dale, good Wan'Dale replacement.
Yeah. Then again, we have Calvin Austin for years, so maybe it doesn't matter. But I mean, I think he was a more multi-year plan.
He's a different prototype, though, despite being like a same size. Can be more of a slot guy.
Yep. All right. That's kind of it. I mean, we went through 7 rounds. Somehow we managed to go through 2 hours again, even though we had nothing to talk about. So thank you guys for being here. Do you have any final thoughts on this? And I mean, who did you look at when you look at the draft classes and you look at the teams we went through? Who stood out to you as like a winner, a loser? What's your overall take?
I mean, we went through them. I thought the Giants I thought had a very good draft. We've gone over that. The Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately, I thought had a very good draft. I think the Raiders had a very good draft. I think the Saints had a very good draft. I'm probably forgetting about teams, but the Steelers, I think, had a very Steelers draft. I think they continued to add to that offensive line. Tampa Bay absolutely killed it. What about you?
Yeah, I think you named a lot of them. I think the Giants, I mean, I'm going to be homerish, but I think the Giants really had a great draft. We didn't love the trade up and the value. We talked about that for Fields, but all you need for that thing to work out is Fields just to become a good receiver. If he becomes a solid wide receiver 2 in the NFL, then you nailed it, right? And then you nailed it on that pick. Yeah. Everything else in this draft class, I honestly love from the Giants, and I'm being very fair here. I think Aral Reese, they probably got the best player in the draft. I think there's a good bet they got the best player in the draft with Aral Reese at 5. You could argue that it could be Caleb Downs, certainly, but I think, if you're comparing the two, the upside of Reese is head and shoulders above. everybody else. Francis Mauinoa looks to me like he's going to be not just a like 10-year type starter at guard, but a guy who's going to be like a potential all-pro, Pro Bowl guard for years to come. I think that's a home run. Colton Hood to me looks like a starting corner in the NFL. I don't know where he's going to fit in the Giants, but that's a great pick. We talked about Fields, but losing those picks sucked in the 4th and 5th. But dude, the 6th round picks. I mean, I didn't love the Kelly pick, but I mean, Davis and Bobby James and Travis, I think, are outstanding value type players. They have a vision for them. They have a plan for them. They know. I think our hit rate on day 3 is something we have to talk about at some point. I think our hit rate on these day 3 picks and with these UDFAs is going to be a lot higher than we're used to in the John Harbaugh era. I think they have a plan on how to coach these guys up, what they want to do with them. He talked about them. They have in-depth knowledge of how they scouted them and what they want to do with them specifically. It's not as haphazard as it was before. I'm excited about that. So I think they're a big winner. Like you said, the Raiders, the Bucks, they all did really well. Kind of hit it out of the park. I think the Browns hit it out of the park. The losers, the Jags, you mentioned. I don't like the Niners draft here. I think Kyle Shanahan's as good as it gets as a coach, but I do not like the draft here at all. I don't know what they're really doing here. I got to be honest, like the Eagles draft, like I know they always swing for the fences. I obviously getting Malachi Fields is big. I don't care too much for the rest of their draft. I think they're drafting as if they still have Jeff Stoutland on their team. And I don't know if I agree with that, right? You don't have him on your team. Will it work out? And what are you doing with Jalen Hurts? So I'm kind of confused by that. I actually don't think they had a great draft. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think a lot of teams did fine. I normally come out of the drafts thinking the Giants lost ground. I don't feel that way now. I feel like they made up a lot of ground with the NFC East and the NFC in general.
Yeah, it sucks that even on a good draft, our division drafts so fucking well.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're in a tough division, and I think you have some good executives in our division. But we have a great coach here, an experienced guy. I think he's raising the floor of our executives. I'll put it that way. Whatever happens, I mean, it sounds like nothing's happening right now with Joe Shane or anybody else, but just listening to Brandon Brown, who I've always liked, actually. Brandon Brown always, he's a Howie Roseman guy. But listening to Brandon Brown talk, always very eloquent and very insightful. But his description, again, to anybody who hasn't heard it, go back and listen to Brandon Brown's interview with the press. It's a 20-minute thing from this past Saturday. It's very clear to me that Harbaugh and his coaching staff have already had a pretty significant impact on how the front office works. Yeah. And I think that is going to elevate this organization quite a bit. Whoever ends up being there, they have a much clearer vision of what they're looking for. We've heard that Brian Daboll didn't give a shit about anything but the offensive players, right? He didn't, and he's the head coach, and he didn't care like what they did on defense. He had no idea what was going on. He depended on he turfed it off to like the scouts and his coaches, his defensive coaches. He had no idea. But you're the head coach. You can't be like that, right? You need a vision of the team. I think things are going to be different from now on.
Yeah, my only pushback to kind of how it went this year with Harbaugh is, I think Shane did good in his role. I think that he, there again, we brought up kind of like Bobby and Jordan's show. We both listened to that today. That Shane seems like he's kind of doing what he did in Buffalo for Brandon Beane, for John Harbaugh. He's kind of being calling around the league, doing the trade talks like that, which I think's fine having that. But I want more of that Ravens blood, like front office blood here. I need somebody who's going to push back a little bit on Harbaugh, and hey, like collecting draft capital is what made our draft so good.
Well, I will say that there were 2 interviews this week with the beat reporters. Jordan, obviously, on his weekly spot with Bobby, but also Ryan Dunleavy on his interview with Justin and Talking Giants earlier in the week. Both independently said they expected, the Giants to add somebody to the front office. Did you hear those comments? He said somebody's going to get added to this front office in the not so distant future. They wouldn't be surprised. I think they both put it as, we won't be surprised, or we think they're going to add somebody here. They're going to either create a position or bring someone in who's more connected to John Harbaugh. So what does that mean, right? Are you talking about bringing in somebody to replace someone? Or, Ryan Dunleavy specifically said, I think they're going to create a position, whether it's like assistant or director of player personnel or something like that. Somebody to bring in.
I would
but
say
it sounds like a high level personnel person is going to be coming. And I don't know if for them to be saying this means, I suspect it means they know exactly who they're targeting already, or
I don't know. I don't think they're wrong. I think a lot of it's just like they assumed a lot more to happen with this front office, and they're like, something's got to happen. Like that just happens when you bring in a guy like Harbaugh, like who has this much say. Like there is not enough has happened for how much they think was going to happen, which I do agree with them, but I don't necessarily think they know who's coming.
I don't know, man. I don't think they have a good feel for it, right? I think if you heard the question Justin asked Ryan Dunleavy about what do you think is going to happen with Joe Schoen, did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had like a 2-minute pause.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know what to say. He just was like, after like a long pause, Dunleavy said, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of like, we just don't know. They're not getting information. They don't have a good feel for what's going to happen, neither good nor bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we hear some people say the extension's coming. We hear some people say it's not coming, that he may not be on the way out, but I don't think anybody has a good feel for what's going to happen with Schoen. So I don't know if that decision is even made yet. All I can say objectively is that they've had a good offseason, right? Just being fair about it. They've had a pretty good offseason. I think they've accomplished a lot of what they wanted to do in reshaping the roster. They've assembled a team that's more in the image of the new head coach. He wants bigger, stronger, bully type people. They had a solid draft. The Dexter Lawrence situation was a shit show. I think they made the most of it. They got a top 10 pick and they turned it into what looks like a, franchise offensive lineman for years to come. And, they did what they could to bring in these two gappers and run stuffers and a more, more depth in defensive line to try to make up whatever they could for it. They've done okay here, man. I think, I don't think that John Harbaugh, who he's calling the shots, I don't think he's looking at the front office right now and going, these guys completely fucked up. Like they really fucked up. I've got to get rid of them. I mean, I don't know how he feels about the Dexter Lawrence situation. I mean, that's the big wild card in my mind. Is like he might be looking at that side-eyed, but I don't think he's looking at them and saying, wow, these guys are a bunch of complete fuck ups. So he might be just looking at them and saying, okay, like they did a pretty good job. I like what I see here, and I want to see it through. At minimum, I think he's probably looking at it and saying, I like a lot of the people here, and I want to see it through at least through the end of this year. Then we can always reassess. I suspect, and I'm not sourcing that. I'm just basing that on how he sounds when he talks and about what I think the final results are of the offseason so far.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Any other thoughts here?
No. Let's see what shitty ass schedule release the Giants social media puts out tomorrow to disappoint us all.
Why do you think there's going to be something to piss you off?
It's just always bad. They're so bad at their jobs. They put out some terrible schedule release. Wait for it. You'll see.
They've been killing it this year so far. Their social media has been better.
We'll see. Whatever. Do fucking a bluey schedule release.
All right. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Help us grow on YouTube. Hit subscribe to He's a Giant Pod. And I wanted to make sure if he's still in here, I wanted to make a comment to Momo. 12 and 5 is absolutely a thing. Just like Fat Boy Summer is a thing that you denied. 12 and 5 is a thing too. Like the pod, subscribe, follow us at He's a Giant Pod. Follow Monty at MONTECRI5TO. Follow me at Queens_guy. Thank you guys for being here. We will see you next week, hopefully with some discussion of the schedule and whatever else comes out from the news over the next week. And then eventually we will have to get into scouting the 2027 draft class. Until next week, we will see you guys then. Go Giants.